Chapter 578. What nonsense are you spouting? Ling Fei was exasperated and was about to step forward when Ling Hong pulled her back. How am I spouting nonsense? Ling Wenxian is a cripple now, just like you guys. Oh no! He thought of something, and the malice in his eyes deepened. I heard that all the meridians in his legs are broken. Even walking is a problem. He's worse than a cripple now. You. Ling Fei was so angry that tears came out. The other party became even more arrogant. All right, I smelled the fragrance of the red-scented fish beast just now. Don't tell me you guys are still thinking of curing him? He swept a glance at the four of them and heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that there was no trace of the fish beast on the ground. He continued, just a few of you cripples, and you want to catch the red-scented fish beast. You're really dreaming. I think you guys had better persuade Ling Wenxian to give up. After all, he's already a cripple. It's better to die early. Rin Qing. This time, not only Ling Fei, even the other two people shouted angrily and even drew out their weapons. Why? Are you angry? You want to fight? But the other parties still looked fearless. Just a few disciples from the third team, and you want to challenge us from the heavenly team? Huh. What a joke. All right, come on. If you're so capable, why don't you fight? Fight me if you can, Before he could finish his words, a sudden pressure swept towards them. Before they could react, a wave of pressure swept towards them. Before they could react, their legs trembled, and with a few thuds, they fell directly from the sky, and they even landed face down. The few of them got a fright, and hurriedly climbed up and drew out their weapons. Who is it? Who plotted against me? They looked around, and finally noticed the four people sitting around the table and eating beside Ling Hong. He was the one who requested a fight. It had nothing to do with them. Rin Qing's expression darkened as he looked back and forth at the four of them. He first looked at Yi Qing and Lone Moon, then turned away after a while, and finally fixed his gaze on Buggy. It's you. Buggy, who didn't even get any soup. Meow, meow, meow. What has it got to do with Buggy? He didn't do anything. You're a bug. The other party looked like he was facing a formidable enemy as he looked straight at Buggy. What do you mean? Want to stand up for them? Buggy was dumbfounded. Stand out? I say, little friend, don't be so angry. Lone Moon finally turned to look at him and said casually, Can't we talk things out? Why do you have to stand so high? Although he did have an imposing manner, but you have to shout to talk. Don't you feel tired? Rin Qing's heart felt stifled, and his face instantly turned red. Thinking about it, he was indeed a little tired and a little thirsty, so he flew into a rage out of humiliation and said, What has it got to do with you? Can't he just stand tall? Originally, it had nothing to do with us. Lone Moon was full. He looked up at the foodie who had not stopped eating. The corners of his eyes curved, and he put down the chopsticks in his hand. He smiled and said, But just now when you were standing up there, you kept talking and talking in this direction. Your saliva flew everywhere. We were still eating down there. Don't you think this is very unhygienic? The moment he said that, Shun Ing and Chef's chopsticks froze at the same time. Suddenly, he felt that every dish was covered with a thick layer of a certain someone's saliva. Shun Ing, Yi Qing, MMP, how are they supposed to eat? Father Nyo was definitely doing it on purpose. Buggy didn't mind at all, and even looked delighted. He finally managed to snatch some food. Their insect race had always lived rough lives. They could eat anything and didn't mind at all. You. Rin Qing's expression turned even uglier. He was, after all, educated. He still had some face. Yet he couldn't find the words to rebut, and could only blush, looking embarrassed and anxious. After a while, he found his voice and said, Humph. Where did this little academy disciple come from? Do you think you can win just by teaming up with an insect race? He glanced at Buggy viciously, and when he saw the butterfly knot on the other's antennae, he stiffened again. After a while, he seemed to have discovered something, and his eyes lit up. He pointed at the other and said, I thought it was some powerful insect race, so it's just a scouting insect? Buggy's expression darkened, and he was instantly a little angry. So what if it was a scouting insect? Why did he look down on scouting insects? He was the smartest among all the insects. Rin Qing's heart relaxed, and then he laughed maniacally, looking at Ling Hong with even more sarcasm. Ha ha! Ling Hong, you found such a backing. Scouting insects were the weakest among the insect race. If it were any other insect race, they might still be wary. Ren Qing, don't spout nonsense. Ling Hong frowned. I've just met these few by chance. They're not from our academy. So what if they're not from the academy? Ren Qing clearly didn't believe him, and laughed even more sarcastically. To be able to hang around with you, they're probably the same kind of trash. You? Ling Hong was exasperated. Ling Fei on the other side couldn't help but speak up. These few are people who can catch the red-scented fish beast. If you say they're trash, then what are you? You catch a fish beast for us to see too. Little Fei. Ling Hong was shocked and wanted to stop her, but it was already too late. As expected, Ren Qing's expression changed. You guys really caught the red-scented fish beast. He turned to look in Buggy's direction with a shocked expression, and then his expression changed again. With just a few of you and a scouting insect, I don't believe it. Believe it or not, it's up to you, Ling Fei said directly. Ren Qing's expression darkened, and for some reason, he swept a glance at Buggy again and laughed coldly. If this insect race is really so strong, then a small matter like finding the array flag would definitely not be a problem. I wonder if you found the array flag? Take it out and let us broaden our horizons. The people behind him also started to make a ruckus, certain that they were putting on an act. Yes, take it out for us to see. What's the fish beast? The array flag is the main point, right? That's right, this is a competition. If you get the array flag, we'll be convinced by you. Hurry and take it out. Don't tell me you don't have it. They said hurriedly, and even looked at Buggy, their gazes full of disdain. Buggy started to panic. Even Lone Moon frowned. These few people were really very arrogant. Instead, Chef at the side suddenly grabbed a handful of something and threw it in front of Buggy, throwing it onto the table with a thud. Here, on the table, there were a few triangular little flags with the word Immortal Spirit written on them. There were a total of 6 of them, and they even gave off a faint stench of blood. Ren Qing, Ling Hong, Buggy, there really was it, and it was a whole bunch. Ren Qing's expression turned green, and his entire person froze, looking at the pile of array flags with a look of disbelief. This was impossible. The Mystic Realm had only been open for less than an hour, and they actually found 6 array flags. Ling Hong's expression lit up, and he retorted sarcastically, "Don't you want to look at the array flags? How is it? Have you seen them clearly?" Chapter 579. Ren Qing's face turned green and white, looking even uglier. Ling Hong laughed lightly and continued to look at the other party. Ren Qing, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be too extreme in everything you do. So what if you're in the Heaven team now? Can you guarantee that you won't fall one day? Don't forget what position you were in before. Even if you don't remember, do we remember it clearly? You. The other party's expression became uglier and uglier, looking at the 4 of them with an even more vicious gaze. All right, I'll wait and see. How are you going to protect these array flags with this insect? With that said, he snorted coldly, turned and brought the 4 of them away on their swords. Yet Buggy was still looking at the flags on the table in disbelief, asking subconsciously, how did it get here? I want to know too. Lone Moon also turned to look over. They just came in and didn't even move from the place. They didn't specially look for the array flags. Yet Chef spoke with a natural expression. When I was cutting the fish just now, I saw in its stomach. Lone Moon. So, the array flags for this competition were actually hidden in the bodies of these demon beasts? Indeed, gluttons save the world. With these array flags, we can pass the first round of the competition. Buggy's face was full of surprise, of course, as long as they weren't snatched away in these 10 days. He hurriedly picked up the array flags on the table and handed them to Shan Ying beside him with a fawning expression. Great immortal here. Shan Ying frowned in disdain, perhaps because they had stayed in the fish's stomach. The flags all carried a fishy smell, so she turned to look at Ling Hong and the rest beside her. What? For you. Ling Hong was stunned, looking as if he had heard something wrong. You're giving it to us? That's right. But these are the array flags for passing. He reminded. I know. Shining nodded. The smell was too strong. She didn't want it. But, he couldn't think of a reason after a long while, and could only look towards Lone Moon. Take it, Lone Moon said nonchalantly. We don't lack these array flags. Just take it as an extra for the fish bones you just bought. Ling Hong turned to look at the other three and felt a surge of warmth in his heart. It was not good for him to reject them anymore. Instead, he felt even more grateful towards them. He cupped his fists and said, "Then, we thank you very much, fellow deists." As he spoke, he picked up the array flags on the table and directly pinched a dust removal technique. First, he cleaned the array flags, picked up 4 of the array flags, turned around and distributed them to the teammates behind him, and then handed 2 of them back. There are only 4 of us, so we only need 4 flags. As for the remaining 2, he said with a serious expression, although your cultivation is high and we are far inferior to you, we might not care about these 2 flags. However, it was still early, so it was better to keep it just in case. Of course, if there are any accidents in the future, you can take back the 4 flags in our hands at any time. His face was full of sincerity. Lone Moon raised his eyebrows in surprise. Only then did he take back the remaining 2 flags. All right, it looked like these people had good temperaments. At least they were not greedy. They were grateful and knew when to advance and when to retreat. Originally, he sold the fish bones to them because they were disciples of Immortal Spirit Academy. He thought that they might be of use in the future regarding the spirit seed. All right, he seemed to have thought of something. He turned back to look at his sister Ling Fei. With a troubled and slightly guilty expression, he said, "Just now, my sister Ling Fei spoke carelessly and said that you guys had hunted the red-scented fish monster. That Renqing has an old grudge with us. He will definitely spread the news to everyone. In addition to the array flags in our hands, I'm afraid it will attract many covetous eyes and bring trouble to you guys." He directly voiced out his worries. Ling Fei, who was at the side, also thought of this and knew that she had done something wrong. Instantly, her face turned pale and she looked at them in a panic. It's my fault." She looked like she was about to cry. No matter. Lone Moon didn't mind. Those fish had their own unique fragrance. Even if they didn't say it, those people would have thought of it after they left. So it had nothing to do with them. Moreover, they really weren't worried, especially after they knew that the array flags were with the beasts. You don't have to blame yourselves. No, Ling Hong said a little agitatedly. This matter started because of us. Although our cultivation levels are not high enough, but I hope that fellow Taoist will allow us to travel with you. Even if we can only help a little. Travel with you? Lone Moon's eyes narrowed. Fellow Taoist, don't misunderstand. Afraid that they would think that he was going to rely on them, Ling Hong took out an item and added, although our cultivation levels are not high enough, we are disciples of Immortal Spirit Academy. Everyone from our academy has a communication token like this. This can show the location of our fellow disciples within a 10-mile radius. Although we can't defend against people from other academies, we can still help if we avoid people from Immortal Spirit Academy. In this mystic realm, most of the people were disciples from Immortal Spirit Academy. Oh, Lone Moon's interest was piqued. He glanced at the communication token in his hand. You're saying you can contact all the disciples in our sect? Indeed, he nodded. I see. Lone Moon suddenly broke into a smile. As if spring had returned, his entire body was filled with warmth. His eyes instantly narrowed into a thin line. Just now you said, this red-scented fish beast is very rare, right? Ling Hong was stunned for a moment. He nodded subconsciously. Yes, yes. Why did he feel that his smile was a little strange? Suddenly, he had a misconception that something was missing. Come, tell me in detail. Lone Moon smiled even more happily. He had a premonition that a large amount of cash was swarming towards him. The master and disciple beside him. Master, don't tell me Father Nyo wants to do business here? 100%. Then could he have forgotten what we came in for? Huh? What did we come in for? I Ching, buggy asterisk 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 on the stone tablet outside the mystic realm. The name, Immortal Spirit Academy Division 23, that was written at the bottom of the stone tablet, suddenly lit up. Then, It rose directly to the top of the stone tablet. Below the name, there was a small circle of 4. Following closely behind the name was the name Invincible Academy. Below it was written too. Right now, the people outside the mystic realm were all the teachers of the various academies. The change on the stone tablet instantly attracted everyone's attention. They were all shocked. 4 array flags. A teacher smiled at the few people from Immortal Spirit Academy. It's only been an hour since you entered the mystic realm, and you've already obtained 4 array flags. You're indeed the disciples of Immortal Spirit Academy. Teacher Lee, you're too kind. The Stygian immortal from Immortal Spirit Academy took a look and was also stunned. Perhaps you're just lucky and happened to encounter 4 array flags. He smiled politely as he replied. He was surprised as well. He didn't expect that the first to obtain 4 array flags would actually be disciples from the 3rd team. Chapter 580. It wasn't that the teachers of the Academy looked down on the people in Group 3, but that the Academy's competition this time was divided into groups according to strength and according to heaven, earth, mystic, yellow, B, C, D, and so on. To be able to get to Group 3, one could imagine that their strength was not that great. To get 4 array flags in just an hour, he wouldn't be surprised if it was the heaven group, but Group 3 was indeed surprising. Teacher Yin is too humble. Who doesn't know the strength of Immortal Academy? There are even more crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the Academy. Looks like the champion of this league will definitely be Immortal Academy. The teachers of the other academies also started to flatter them. Building a good relationship with Immortal Academy was the main purpose of these people coming. So a new wave of commercial flattery began. I wonder what kind of big clan this Invincible Academy is. They got 2 array flags in such a short time. Someone noticed Invincible Academy, which was ranked below Immortal Academy, and asked, "Has anyone heard of this academy?" But no one responded, and after a few words of discussion, they didn't pay too much attention and quickly turned their attention to the other groups. But the situation in the next few days made these teachers of the academy who were waiting to watch from outside a little confused. Especially the people of Immortal Academy. They originally thought that the people in Group 3 were just lucky, and that was why they got 4 array flags in the beginning. If they were lucky, they could stay out of the mystic realm for 10 days. If they were unlucky, they would be teleported out after being robbed. Anyway, this number could not change anymore. After all, the disciples in Group 3 were already very lucky to get 4 array flags. They couldn't hide in time to let others find them. They couldn't take the risk to rob more. But soon, they were slapped in the face. The number below seemed to be spasming, not decreasing, but increasing. In just one day, it rose to 10. On the 2nd day, it reached 20. On the 3rd day, it was a little slower, but it was still close to 30. And on the 5th day, the number had already risen to 40. 40 array flags. That was almost half of the total number. This time, the crowd wasn't surprised, but rather doubted the authenticity of this competition. A team of 4 could get 40 array flags in less than half the time of the competition. This was too illogical. The key was that the number of array flags never showed any signs of decreasing, unless they were cheating. Otherwise, how could this happen? For a moment, the teachers of Immortal Academy received a bunch of questioning looks. The teachers wanted to cry, but had no tears. They didn't know what was going on either. Why did Team C suddenly erupt? However, cheating was absolutely impossible. Although the other party was their disciple, this was a joint competition that they were hosting. If there was any cheating, it would definitely damage their reputation. It was simply impossible for them to do such a stupid thing. Moreover, they were not fools. Even if they wanted to cheat, there was no need to do it so obviously. The stone tablet clearly stated that all 40 array flags were in one team. Wasn't this just slapping their own faces? However, logic was logic. Such a crazy increase in the number of array flags could not stop the doubts and speculations of the crowd. However, they couldn't see what was going on inside the secret realm. The Immortal Spirit Academy had no choice but to bitterly investigate the disciples who had been eliminated in advance. Although no one wanted to reduce everyone's suspicions, they still had to be fair. This was especially true for the disciples of their own academies. However, they were unable to find out the reason at all. The answers given by these disciples who had been eliminated in advance were that they didn't know, weren't clear, and didn't understand. Was there such a thing? This kind of answer. The other academies were even more adamant that they had never seen any disciples from the third group of the Immortal Spirit Academy. There was also nothing special happening inside, and they didn't know if it was an illusion, but they felt that these disciples who had been eliminated in advance did not seem to be very regretful or sad. They even seemed a little excited. This investigation did not yield any results, and the number of array flags in the Immortal Spirit Academy C23 group was still increasing. On the 8th day, it had already increased to 68 array flags. Only a small number were scattered among the various groups. Everyone, what the hell? However, at this time, something big had indeed happened in the secret realm. Something big that made the entire mystic realm go crazy. The cause was an unfamiliar voice that rang through the communication cards of the Immortal Spirit Academy disciples. However, it made one's heart surge for no reason. Attention, attention! 50% discount on exotic beasts is a huge sale. Exotic beasts that originally cost 1 million or 2 million void coins are now being sold at 50%. 500,000. 500,000. Yes, you didn't hear wrongly. It's 500,000. You won't lose out if you buy it for 500,000. You won't be cheated for 500,000. But you can buy a whole, fresh beast from the mystic realm. Whether it's the red-scented fish beast, horn cloud beast, standing rolling wind beast, 9 dots rouge beast, as long as you want to buy it, we have all of them here. There are many breeds, and we are honest. Today, we are only open for 4 hours. First come, first served. Sold out. The first buyer will get a double discount. On top of the 50% discount, another 50% discount. This is a rare opportunity. Hurry to the small river on the east side of the mystic realm to buy it. When they first heard it, everyone was dumbfounded. They silently scolded him for being crazy. He actually put up such an advertisement in the competition mystic realm. But when some of them were really bored and went to explore out of curiosity, they really bought the exotic beasts they needed. One must know that these were exotic beasts. Every part of their body was a treasure. Their muscles, bones, skin, flesh, and blood all had their own special effects. They were all priceless in the world. After all, exotic beasts were ferocious. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would risk their life to hunt them. But they didn't expect that there would be such an idiot in the mystic realm. Not only were they selling them openly, they were also selling them at such a low price. Whoever didn't buy them would be an idiot. At first, only the Immortal Spirit Academy disciples knew about it. They also wanted to keep the news to themselves and take advantage of it. They wanted to buy as many as they could. But after all, they were here for the competition. Those who brought huge sums of money with them had to have the money to buy more. They had no choice. Those who were on good terms could only borrow from each other. Of course, they could not borrow from their own academy. Others wanted to buy as well, so they could only borrow from those who did not know about it. As time went by, the news naturally spread. So the entire mystic realm went crazy. There was a long queue at the small river, and they started buying. Damn the competition. How could buying exotic beasts be more important? Ling Hong and the other 3 who were temporarily recruited by Lone Moon were extremely busy. At first, they were dumbfounded. Later, they felt that these exotic beasts were too cheap. In the end, they got used to it. They could even draw inferences about other things from one instance. Fellow Taoist, these are fire-type exotic beasts. I still have a few here. Do you want to buy a few more? Fellow Taoist, our exotic beasts are sold at a fixed price. If you don't buy them, they will be gone tomorrow. Fellow Taoist, do you want to see them alive? What do you mean there are no spirit beast bags? It's okay. We sell them here too. Fellow Taoist, you know how to tame beasts. Do you want to see the cubs? And the unhatched eggs? Do you want to understand them? Chapter 581. The few of them even specially set up a stage to display their goods in all directions. And Lone Moon and the other 3 sat around the back, leisurely eating their meals. But Father Nyo forcibly increased the time that chef went out to find ingredients from an hour to 2 hours. At first, I Ching was unwilling. Although he was used to going out to find ingredients, these were all prepared for master. Why should he take them out to sell? Did chef and foodies have dignity too? Counted his wages, and add 3 times the food expenses. Lone Moon held out 3 fingers. All right. To a certain disciple instantly gave in. Dignity is not as important as food. So the mystic realm that was originally full of ferocious beasts, all kinds of beasts were disappearing at an extremely fast speed. Almost more than 80% of the people who entered the mystic realm bought one, or half a beast, or bought a beast in the form of shares. Such a hot scene lasted until the 8th day. At this time, more than half of the people in the mystic realm were gone, and of course the beasts were gone too. Everyone received another message in their communication cards. Attention, attention, a big sale of array flags. Want to qualify for the pass? Pass array flags. Only 100 void coins. Only 30 pieces sold. First come, first served sold out. Support for IOU transactions. Everyone who heard the message was stunned, and then suddenly remembered. Holy shit. So they were competing. They completely forgot about this. These days, they only cared about queuing, and some even waited for a few nights. They completely forgot about the array flags. But everyone was still optimistic. With beasts, the array flags did not matter. Anyway, not everyone could get first place. They had already profited. There were even some people who were afraid that the beasts in their hands would be snatched away, and there were many people who deliberately self-destructed. Apart from some elite disciples of large academies. After all, under elite education, there were still many responsible people who would disguise themselves to buy array flags. So although the array flag business was not as popular as before, more than 60 flags were still sold out. Hence, the crowd outside the mystic realm saw that the name Immortal Academy C23, which had originally been pushed to the top, finally dropped in a straight line within 2 days. The number also dropped from the initial 60-something to 4, and it was sandwiched between the other names. The surrounding teachers were dumbfounded, but they couldn't figure out the reason. Those who came out in advance didn't say anything because they wanted to keep the news that they had treasures with them a secret. After all, they were here on behalf of the Academy, and they might have to hand them over if they told the truth. Finally, the people inside wouldn't say anything. Nonsense. The array flags were all bought. Could it be that he directly told others that he had cheated? Even when Ling Hong and the other 3 were called in for questioning, they insisted that they did not know anything and that they were just lucky to find out about the array flags at the last moment. Therefore, in the end, the Immortal Spirit Academy could only give an explanation. There was a mistake in the array on the stone tablet, which led to the error in the statistics. Just like that, the first round of the competition ended in a dramatic manner. Contrary to expectations, there were only a total of 75 people who entered the second round. That's right, more than 1,000 disciples had entered, but there were still more than 20 array flags that had not been found. Of course, Shun Ying, who had been cooped up by the river for 10 days, also advanced gloriously. Not to mention Ling Hong and the other 3 who were completely lying on the ground, and Buggy who didn't manage to get any more food. They themselves felt that their victory was inexplicable. The short 10 days felt like a dream. When they came back to their senses, they had already entered the second round. They were still holding a frighteningly large bag of void coins in their hands. That was the bonus that Lone Moon gave them. Lone Moon was the biggest winner of this competition. He held in his hands the void coins that others would not be able to earn in a few lifetimes. There were also more than 60 promissory notes. He was so happy that he even gave Shun Ying and Chef some pocket money. He looked at the promissory notes in his hands and thought about the second competition in a few days. Instantly, he felt that he had a 90% chance of winning without doing anything. The second competition was set to be 3 days later. Lone Moon really felt that there was nothing much to prepare. He was just about to bring the master and disciple and Buggy there to have a good meal. But they welcomed their first guest in the Void Land, and it was someone familiar. Fellow Taoist, long time no see. The other party walked over quickly. Are the few of you going out? Ling Hong, Why are you here? Lone Moon instantly recognized the person in front of him. After all, in those 10 days, his performance was the best among the 4 of them. What's the matter? I specially came to thank the few of you. With that said, he solemnly bowed to the few of them. He looked around before lowering his voice and said, regarding that red-scented fish beast previously, I still have to thank the few of you. You're welcome. Lone Moon smiled. I said long ago that you bought it with your own money. It has nothing to do with us. That being said, if it wasn't for your kind intentions, we would not have been able to buy it. He still looked grateful. Thinking of something, he continued. Oh yes, I'm here this time because I have news regarding the next competition. I want to inform the few of you. Oh. The competition schedule is out? Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. Then he stepped aside. Let's go in and talk. Just as he was about to let Ling Hong into the house, Chef and Shuning stood at the door without moving. 2 pairs of resentful eyes stared at Father Niao. Shuning, what happened to the promised meal? I Ching, what happened to the promised feast? Lone Moon, don't forget what you're here for. Only Buggy looked back and forth at the few of them with a confused expression. What was going on? Why weren't they moving? He was hungry too. After all, he had been eating plain rice for 10 days. All right. Lone Moon glared at the 2 troublesome little rascals. Go out and eat. Come back and reimburse, all right? Yes, Father Niao. No problem, Father Niao. The 2 of them cheered. Their faces were full of joy as they walked out of the door. They even dragged Buggy along with them. Ling Hong. Why did he have the illusion that he was looking at a patriarchal compromise? Fellow Taoist Ling, please come in. Lone Moon then led Ling Hong into the house. Thank you for coming here personally. Fellow Taoist Lone Moon, you're too polite. This matter will be announced tomorrow. I'm just informing you a few hours in advance. Ling Hong said. Then I wonder what the second competition is about. Ling Hong frowned. Then, he said in a low voice, it's much harder than the mystic realm last time. It's about breaking through the Academy's 1,000 phenomenon array. 1,000 phenomenon array? Lone Moon was stunned. Is it an array formation? Fellow Taoist is aware. The 1,000 phenomenon array is an array formation set up by an exalted immortal from the Immortal Academy many years ago. He frowned and said, there are thousands of changes in this array. There are many overlapping arrays inside. It's said to have the 1,000 phenomenon array. It's not easy to walk out of it. Oh, if it was really just an array formation, then it would be easy. Both he and Chef were good at it. Chapter 582. Fellow Taoist, you have to be careful. This time, it's not just the contestants who will enter the array. Ling Hong's expression changed. He looked at Lone Moon guiltily. I don't know if it's because of what happened in the mystic realm last time that the teachers in the academy became suspicious. So this time, the 10,000 phenomenon array is not just about passing the array. There will also be teachers participating. With the teachers' abilities, if they meet them, they will probably be eliminated immediately. You mean that your teachers will enter the array personally to fight? Lone Moon was shocked. This was good news. Who knows? They might be able to find out where the spirit seed was. Yes. Ling Hong thought that he was worried. He continued to explain. Those who will enter the array are teachers who are very familiar with arrays. I heard that even Teacher Yin will enter. He is the #1 person in the academy and the teacher with the highest cultivation. It looks like this competition will not be so easy to pass. Lone Moon nodded. He already had a plan. All right, thank you for telling me all this. It's nothing. He quickly waved his hand. Fellow Taoist, you've helped us a lot. We don't have any other abilities. We can only do such small things. Lone Moon smiled. He was about to say something more when he suddenly thought of something. All right, the friend you said you wanted to save last time. How is she now? Is she done? His face paled for a moment, and his brows furrowed. Not yet for now. Why? Lone Moon faltered. There aren't enough fish bones. Chef still has some. How about no? It's not that. He quickly shook his head. With some embarrassment, he said, it's not because of the fish bones. The Fish King's fish bones are enough, and they're the most effective ones. It's just that the red-scented fish beast bones are extremely hard. We can't find anything to refine it. So, we can't make medicine to save my friend. Medicine? Wasn't it refining pills? But it's all right. I've already applied to the academy to use the Earth Heart Fire. If we're lucky, we can pass in half a month. He smiled. As long as we have the Earth Heart Fire, we can definitely refine the fish bones. My friend will be able to recover immediately. Although he was smiling, it was obvious that he was still worried. It seemed like things were not going as smoothly as he said. You just need to refine the fish bones? Yes. He nodded and said, the bones of the red-scented fish monster contain poison, so we need to use the deviant flame to burn off the poison inside before we can refine the medicine. If that's the case, Lone Moon sighed. On account of the fact that I Ching had helped him for a few days, Lone Moon decided to help him again. Perhaps you can ask Chef for help. He can definitely help you refine those fish bones. Which deviant fire could compare to the true phoenix fire? It will be easy to burn fish bones. Of course. His expression lit up, and he stood up immediately. Lone Moon nodded. Then how about we go find fellow Daoisty now? His face was full of excitement. He thought of something and couldn't help but add, I wonder what he likes. Should I prepare something? Lone Moon thought for a moment and said, prepare some top-notch oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. Ling Hong, what the hell? Ling Hong had always felt that fellow Taoist I Ching was not a very easy person to talk to, because in those 10 days in the mystic realm, he basically did not speak a single word to the four of them. Even when he was talking to the insect in the same group, he could keep it simple and cold the entire time, looking like he was not easy to get close to. So when Lone Moon said that he only needed to bring some oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar, he was still a little doubtful. Would these things be able to move the other party? In his worry, he couldn't help but buy more food and local specialties. He carried a big box over to look for I Ching. Miraculously, the moment he explained the purpose of his visit, the other party immediately accepted his box. He turned and stuffed the food into Miss Shun's bag beside him, then turned back and replied seriously, all right. Ling Hong was a little stunned. He actually agreed. By the time he reacted, he had already brought the few of them home. A gentle male voice rang out in the house. Ling Hong, you're back so soon. Have you properly thanked anyone? He paused mid-sentence and looked up at the few people who had followed him in. These few are. Only then did Lone Moon see a young man sitting on the reclining chair in the room. He looked to be in his 20s, and his face was strangely pale, but his expression was exceptionally gentle. There was a blanket covering his feet, and he seemed to be unable to walk. Using his divine perception, Lone Moon instantly saw that the meridians in his legs were all broken. It seemed to be more than a month old, and there was demonic chi entrenched in his dantian. Big brother. Ling Hong took a step forward and introduced with some joy. These are the fellow Taoists who sold our red-scented fish beast in the mystic realm. Ling Wenxian's eyes lit up. He hurriedly cupped his fists towards Lone Moon and the others. So it's fellow Taoists. Thank you for taking care of my younger brother in the mystic realm. I can't thank you enough. Fellow Taoist, you're too polite. They've also helped me a lot. It's just a mutual benefit. Lone Moon smiled. Big brother, this fellow Taoist, I Ching has a way to refine the fish bones. Ling Hong said excitedly. That's why I brought them here. Really? Ling Wenxian's eyes widened. A moment later, his eyes darkened with some guilt. Brother Hong, they're already being kind by selling you the fish beast. How can you trouble them again? What's more, it's not that easy to refine the Fish King's fish bones. It's just a small matter, Lone Moon continued. We're friends since we're fated to meet. What's more, refining is not a big deal to us. Ling Wenxian raised his head to look at them. Seeing that they really did not seem to be forcing him, he then said seriously, in that case, thank you very much. If I really have a chance to recover, if there's anything I can help with in the future, I will not hesitate to help. Lone Moon returned a polite smile before turning to look at Ling Hong. Where are the fish bones? Bring us there. Now? All right. Ling Hong did not expect them to actually want to start now. He hurriedly greeted the person in front of him. Then, big brother, I'll bring them to the medicine room first. With that said, he turned and led them to a room at the side. The few of them followed him in. Only then did they realize that the room was filled with all kinds of herbs. Once they entered, they could smell the strong, medicinal smell. There was also a long table in the middle. There were piles of bottles and jars on it. Lone Moon casually scanned the room. The strange thing was, although there were many herbs, there was not a single spirit herb. They were all ordinary herbs. Ling Hong directly walked towards the largest box in the innermost part of the room. He undid the layers of array formations on it, and even peeled off a few Dharma talismans. Only then did he carefully open a box. Lying inside was the leftover fish bones that they had eaten previously. The fish bones are here. Ling Hong carefully took out a section of the fish bones. As he handed it to I Ching, he said, "This fish bone is extremely difficult to refine. I've calculated it. Even if I use the deviant fire, I'll need at least 7 days and 7 nights to completely refine it. So for these few days, I'll have to trouble." Chapter 583. Before Ling Hong could finish speaking, he saw I Ching stretch out his hand, and a ball of fiery flames appeared. In the blink of an eye, the fish bone melted into water and became a transparent ball, floating above I Ching's palm. Was he dreaming? This was too fast, wasn't it? Container, I Ching reminded him. Ling Hong was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Oh. He hurriedly turned around and started looking for the container. After a while, he picked up an empty bottle on the table and handed it over. I Ching took it, and instantly, the transparent ball of water that had been refined turned into a thin stream and flowed into the bottle. He directly returned the full bottle to Ling Hong and looked at the other fish bones in the box. He asked in a low voice, "Do I need to refine all of these? For the sake of that box of seasoning?" Ling Hong was stunned and subconsciously nodded. "Yes, I Ching responded. He condensed a ball of fire in his hand again and threw it into the box. Instantly, the entire box burst into flames. The originally complete fish bones were completely refined in less than 3 breaths' time. They turned into a huge ball of water and rose up, while the box below remained undamaged. I Ching could not be bothered to ask this time. He directly raised his hand, and the ball of water released tens of streams of water that flew into the other empty bottles on the table. "It's done. Thank you." Ling Hong thanked him in a daze. Thinking of his elder brother's injury, he could not be bothered to ask him what kind of deviant fire it was. He picked up a bottle of refined fish bone fluid from the table and said excitedly, "My elder brother can be saved. With this, I'll be able to make the medicine immediately." With that said, he directly turned around and began to pick the medicine around him. Lone Moon took a look and realized that the herbs he chose were all herbs that could alleviate the effects of the medicine and nourish qi. Perhaps because he was already prepared, he quickly found the herbs he needed. Then he directly and roughly crushed them into a juice and mixed them together. Finally, he added the fishbone fluid that he had just refined. Lone Moon watched from the side and could not help but ask, "Fellow Taoist Ling, why don't you directly refine it into a pill? Even if it was ordinary herbs, refining the essence inside into a pill would be much better than using such a ridiculous method." Ling Hong, on the other hand, was stunned for a moment. With a blank expression, he asked, "What is refining pills?" Lone Moon was stunned. He actually didn't know how to refine pills. Wasn't he a cultivator? Suddenly, he understood something. Could it be that there were no pill cultivators here? "Do you all use this kind of method to make medicine to treat injuries?" "Yeah," he nodded. Seeing Lone Moon's speechless expression, he said with some embarrassment, "Fellow Taoist Lone Moon, are you also a pharmacist? Don't tell me. There's something wrong with the method I just used?" He panicked. "That's not it." Lone Moon shook his head. "I'm just a little curious. Can I have a look at this medicine?" "Of course." He handed the bottle to him without hesitation. "You need to drink 3 bottles of this medicine at a time for it to be effective. I can still adjust 2 more bottles." After saying that, he turned around and continued to look for medicinal herbs. Lone Moon held the bottle and looked at it. He saw that the originally transparent fishbone fluid had turned green and emitted the fragrance of herbs. Using his divine perception, He frowned and sent a voice transmission to I Ching. Chef, do you think this medicine will work? It won't, Chef replied directly. That fishbone fluid can indeed connect his meridians, but the most important thing is the demonic qi in his dantian. Lo Moon had the same thought. Although Ling Wenxian could stand up again after drinking this, he would still not be able to cultivate. Not only that, his original cultivation would also become weaker and weaker under the influence of the demonic qi. It seemed that the medical standards of the Voidland were obviously not good enough. He scanned the room full of medicinal herbs again. After thinking carefully, he understood why there were no pill cultivators here. Because there were no spirit herbs in this world. Pill cultivators use spirit herbs and immortal herbs to refine pills. However, the Voidland was a place where many planes were mixed together. Although there was spirit qi, there were many other things mixed in. Therefore, spirit herbs couldn't grow in such a place. Naturally, there were no pill cultivators. He turned back to look at Ling Hong, who was still excitedly adjusting the medicine. His eyes were full of anticipation for his elder brother's full recovery. After thinking for a while, he took out an elixir that could neutralize demonic qi and threw it into the bottle. Then, he used his immortal power to mix it. He would take it as a bonus for his previous work. Ling Hong's speed of making medicine was very fast. In less than 15 minutes, he had already made the remaining 2 bottles. He called out to the 3 of them and went out with a bottle of medicine in each hand. Big brother, the medicine is ready. So fast. Ling Wenxian, who was reading, was stunned. He looked in disbelief at the few of them who had only been inside for 15 minutes. Didn't you say that the fish bones needed? Fellow Taoist, I Ching has a special method to quickly refine the fish bones. That's why I can make the medicine so quickly. Ling Hong explained directly and hurriedly handed over the medicine in his hand. Big brother, hurry and feed it. Ling Wenxian nodded. He was just about to take the bottle when Lone Moon stepped forward and handed over the bottle in his hand. Drink this first so that I don't have to hold it all the time. The 2 of them were stunned. A trace of apology flashed across Ling Hong's eyes. Ling Wenxian hurriedly took the bottle. The bottle was not big. He finished it in a few mouthfuls. Almost instantly, he felt a wave of warmth rising from his dantian. It was as if a cold aura that had been entrenched for a long time was spreading. A trace of wild joy flashed across his face. He hurriedly took the other bottle. He had just taken a sip when he was stunned. He subconsciously looked up at Lone Moon. A trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. A moment later, he continued to drink until he had finished all 3 bottles. Big brother, this medicine needs 3 days to be fully effective. Ling Hong was still a little excited. You can recover in a few days. Ling Wenxian responded. He turned to look at Lone Moon and cupped his fists again. With a sincere expression, he said, Thank you for your help this time. Ling Wenxian, will remember it. You're welcome, Lone Moon replied. His eyes darkened. Something flashed across. He hesitated for a moment before saying, May I ask just now? Before he could finish speaking, there was a ringing sound outside the door. Suddenly, a streak of white and red rushed in, heading straight in Lone Moon's direction. There was a faint and sharp sword aura on it. Be careful, Ling Hong exclaimed. Lone Moon subconsciously raised his fan and knocked it. The light fell to the ground with a ding. A few of them looked down. They saw a small golden sword on the ground. It was only the size of a sword. It was already broken into 2. This is... Ling Hong was shocked. His eyes widened. Teacher Yan's golden sword token. Why would it appear here, could it be? His expression darkened. He turned to look at Ling Wenxian. The latter's expression darkened too. Chapter 584. Do the 2 of you recognize this? Lo Moon asked. Of course we do. Ling Wenxian sighed and looked up at them, his eyes filled with guilt. This is the golden sword token of the Academy's law enforcement teacher. It's used to summon offenders to the commandment courtyard for a hearing. Just as he finished speaking, in the next moment, another beam of white light flew in. This time, it stopped in front of Ling Hong and didn't attack. The one that attacked Lone Moon was probably affected by the sword chi around him. You mean the Immortal Spirit Academy is summoning me? He was stunned. He was not a disciple of the Academy. Why would they summon him? Looks like we've implicated you, fellow Taoist. Ling Wenxian looked even more guilty. If I'm not wrong, the Academy is summoning you and Ling Hong because of what happened in the preliminary competition. Preliminary competition? Lone Moon was stunned. Ling Hong said directly, "Hasn't the preliminary competition already ended? But what you did in the mystic realm." He looked at Lone Moon and the others, choosing his words carefully. After all, it's too shocking. It's not strange that it attracted the attention of the Academy, especially you and Ling Fei. You're in the third team, but you obtained more than 60 array flags. How can the Academy not investigate? But didn't that matter already come to an end? No one would really talk about what happened in the mystic realm, right? Most disciples will indeed not tell the Academy about what happened in the mystic realm. Ling Wenxian frowned. But one person will. Ling Hong was stunned and suddenly thought of something. His eyes widened. Ren Qing. His expression darkened, and he scolded. "It's this despicable person again, fellow Taoist Lone Moon." He turned to look at Lone Moon, his face full of worry. "This time, all of you met with this calamity because of us brothers. That Ren Qing has an old grudge with us. That's why he specially mentioned this matter. If the Academy really wants to pursue this matter, please just say that we were the masterminds of this." "That's right." Ling Hong also spoke up. "Ren Qing wants to deal with us. It has nothing to do with you. You're exaggerating." Lone Moon smiled. He did not look worried at all. "The business in this mystic realm was my intention. How can you say that it has nothing to do with me? Besides, is there a rule in this competition that states that we can't do business in the secret territory?" The two brothers were stunned. Of course not. Therefore, there is no need for everyone to worry. Lone Moon continued. "Since the teachers of your academy want to see me, I'll go and meet them. What's the harm in that?" But Ling Hong wanted to say something. Lone Moon, however, had already turned around to instruct the two people beside him. "Chef, bring Shaning back to the inn first. Make sure she doesn't get lost. Also, you're not allowed to fool around outside." With that said, he turned around. "Sorry for disturbing you today. Farewell. Fellow Taoist Ling Hong, let's go." It just so happened that he did not have the chance to go to the academy to investigate the matter of the spiritual seed. Of course, he would not waste this opportunity that was delivered to his doorstep. Thus, a large group of people left, leaving Ling Wenxian alone with a worried expression. On the way to the academy, Lone Moon had already found out about what happened between Ren Qing and the Ling brothers. It was nothing more than a disaster brought about by jealousy and adding insult to injury. It was similar to how immortal sects were divided into inner and outer sect disciples. Immortal Academy was so big. Of course, they were divided into different factions. The more talented one was in the Heaven team. Ren Qing was in the Heaven team. The three Ling siblings were all talented. Even Ling Wenxian was only of average talent. They were all placed in the third team, but they were no match for their hard work. Ling Wenxian was a model example of hard work. He was very proficient in all kinds of sorcery and array techniques. Moreover, he was smart. So after entering Immortal Academy, his cultivation improved very quickly. He even surpassed the people in the Heaven team. The first to be outperformed was Ren Qing. Of course, he was not convinced. But after a few competitions organized by the Academy, he could not beat Ling Wenxian. He was always suppressed by him. Later, he was even directly promoted to the Heaven team by the Academy. But the number of people in each team was fixed. This was to make it easier for them to go on missions. Now that there was one more person, one would naturally be pushed out. Unfortunately, Ren Qing was the one who was pushed out. So Ren Qing disliked him even more. There was often friction between the two. Until a month ago, the Academy encountered a beast on a mission. Ling Wenxian's legs were broken and he could no longer walk. Seeing that there was no way to cure him, the Academy could only transfer him back to the third team. Ren Qing naturally returned to the Heaven team. After Ren Qing returned, he was even more against them. He even tried to stop them from treating Ling Wenxian's legs. The grudge between the two sides grew. Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He could see a classic villain jumping up and down, waiting for the main character to slap him in the face. What was this Renqing after? Why'd he have to stare at him like this? The two talked as they entered the academy. Ling Hong brought him to a place that looked like an academy. Inside sat a middle-aged man in a blue robe. He looked at the two of them seriously. Beside him was indeed Renqing. He was looking over with a smug expression. "Greetings, Teacher Yin." Ling Hong bowed politely. Lone Moon did not move. He only cupped his fists politely. He was not from the Immortal Academy. There was naturally no need for that. Yin Luo took a few more glances at him. He realized that he came alone. There was no teacher behind him. He frowned. Recalling what Renqing said earlier, he heaved a sigh of relief. He said in a deep voice, "Do the two of you know your crimes?" Ling Hong's expression changed. He was about to speak. Lone Moon, who was at the side, was a step faster. "Teacher, may I know what crime you have committed? You still dare to argue?" Yin Luo's expression darkened. He pointed at the person beside him. "Renqing has already told me everything that happened in the first competition. The two of you worked together to interfere with the competition. You actually sold array flags in the Mystic Realm. You seriously disrupted the fairness of the competition. Teacher Yin, we don't understand." Lone Moon's smile deepened. "When did we do such a thing? Why don't we know? You still don't admit it." Renqing interrupted. "I saw it all. You used 1 million void coins to sell an array flag to those teams." "Oh, it's you." Lone Moon looked as if he had just seen Renqing. He continued smiling. "All right, I forgot to ask. You didn't manage to snatch Ling Hong's array flags. I wonder if you managed to snatch someone else's? When did I snatch his array flags?" Renqing was stunned. "Wasn't it at the beginning?" Lone Moon continued. "Didn't you specially chase after Ling Hong and the others to snatch their array flags the moment you entered the Mystic Realm? I thought that fighting with fellow disciples was the tradition of your Immortal Academy. Otherwise, Ling Hong would not have allied with me." Chapter 585. You? Renqing was exasperated. Even Yin Luo's expression changed as he turned to glare at Renqing. Although there were many people from their academy participating in this competition, and it was inevitable that they would face each other, it was a competition between academies after all. This kind of team competition basically wouldn't involve their own people. What's more, when they first entered the Mystic Realm, the array flags were ownerless. Wouldn't finding their own people first be holding them back? "Oh, I know." Lone Moon didn't wait for the two of them to react, and said with a look of realization, "Don't tell me you're indignant after being eliminated. So you came up with some ridiculous excuse like selling array flags to frame us, so that you can advance and replace us yourself?" With that said, he even swept a glance at Yin Luo. "Your sect competition method is really an eye-opener for me." "Nonsense." Renqing panicked. "What I said is all true. You not only sell array flags, you also sell the beasts in the Mystic Realm. Then do you have any evidence?" Lone Moon looked straight at him and said, "You want to disqualify us from the preliminary competition just based on your one-sided slander? Then can I tell others that the entire united competition was manipulated by your Immortal Academy in secret? That it's all a lie?" "You." Renqing was so angry that he couldn't speak. He could only cup his fist at Yin Luo and said, "Teacher, what I said is all true." "Then find a witness." Lone Moon said directly, "There are thousands of people participating in the preliminary competition. There are many who have seen us. Can you find one person to prove that what you said is all true?" This. His face was flustered. They were all bought and sold by you." "Everyone was bought and sold?" "That's right, everyone, including his original teammates. They weren't willing to come with him and expose this person." "Oh." Lone Moon nodded, purposely dragging out his words, looking at Yin Luo with a hint of a smile. Yin Luo's face darkened. "Enough, Renqing." "But teacher, shut up." Yin Luo also had a headache, his face turning green and white. He naturally heard the sarcasm in Lone Moon's words. He had checked on this Lone Moon, a disciple from Invincible Academy he had never heard of. He couldn't find any powerful force behind him. No matter how capable he was, it was impossible to bribe everyone in the Mystic Realm. After all, There were hundreds of academies and thousands of students entering this time. If he was really that capable, why would he participate in the competition? Actually, when Ren Qing mentioned this at the start, he had his doubts too. After all, it was impossible to sell array flags publicly. First, it affected the fairness of the competition. First of all, the other party had to obtain extra array flags before they could sell them to others. Otherwise, the other party could sell fake flags. However, they had checked every single one of the array flags, and none of them were fake. However, he did not believe that he alone could obtain so many array clans. Others might not know the location of the array clan, but the teachers who set the questions did. Qing, Ling King Ling, Luo Ling King, Qing, Ling those Qing, Ling, and we're at Elon Moon Luo said. Ling Shan, he said. Ling, Qing, they at Qing, they sacked it, come on. It's just that they couldn't find the reason, and the other disciples who came out of the mystic realm seemed to be hiding something. So when Ren Qing came over to say this, although he knew it was ridiculous, he still believed him. Teacher Yin. Ling Hong reacted and hurriedly stepped forward. Ren Qing has always been at odds with my big brother. He has been targeting us ever since we entered the mystic realm. His words cannot be trusted. This time, he did not advance to the second round of the competition, but we did. I feel that he is deliberately slandering us. Teacher, please investigate this. Yin Luo's expression turned uglier. He doubted his previous judgment even more, turning back to look at Ren Qing sternly. I didn't. Ren Qing paled, completely panicking. Teacher, you have to believe me. It's really them. Enough. Yin Luo interrupted him. As if he didn't want to listen anymore, he turned to Lone Moon. This young friend, the league is very important. We are also worried about the fairness of the competition. That's why we invited you here. Although the matter has been clarified, please forgive us. Teacher Yin, you're too kind. Lone Moon smiled, but his words had no intention of letting him off easily. It's just that the way your academy does things really surprises me. Just a few words from a random disciple, without even checking, you directly convict me. Luckily, I'm not your academy's disciple. Otherwise, there would really be no way to resolve this matter peacefully today. Yin Luo's expression darkened even more. Not only his face, even the academy's face was completely lost. He started to blame Ren Qing even more, and was even more annoyed that this person actually didn't give him any face at all. Yet Lone Moon continued. I didn't say that I didn't do this, even if I really sold the array flags, which part of the competition's rules says that these array flags can't be transferred. It's my oversight. Yin Luo could only grit his teeth and apologize. I hope this young friend don't take offense. No problem. Lone Moon stopped while he was ahead. I wonder if teacher still has any doubts? Why don't you clarify everything at once? Of course not. Yin Luo smiled politely. Thank you for making this trip today. You can all go back. Since that's the case, we'll take our leave first. With that said, he turned to look at Ren Qing at the side and said meaningfully, I believe that teacher is a fair person, so I believe that you will also deal with the person who slandered you impartially, right? Yin Luo was stunned, only nodding after a while. Of course. Ren Qing's expression turned completely pale in an instant. Lone Moon then turned and brought Ling Hong out. Until the two of them walked far away, Yin Luo then frowned and sat back on his seat. Teacher, you have to believe me. Ren Qing's expression was flustered as he hurriedly went forward. I really didn't lie, they enough? No need to say any more. Yin Luo looked at him exasperatedly. It was all this idiot's fault, causing him to embarrass himself. Whether they cheated or not, we'll find out in the second round anyway. He was also muddle-headed from anxiety. That was why he believed this Ren Qing. Whether it was true or not, wouldn't everything be clear once they passed the second round and tested the other party's cultivation? And that Lone Moon just now. Although he looked like a foundation establishment cultivator, his words and actions were watertight. Even in front of his Stygian immortal aura, he didn't dare to show any emotions. This kind of person made him even more suspicious of the other party's background. Ling Hong followed Lone Moon out with a dumbfounded expression. Even when the two of them specially circled around the academy on the way, he still didn't react. Originally, he was already prepared to be punished by the academy, and perhaps even be chased out of the academy. Yet Lone Moon only said a few simple words, and not only did nothing happen to him, he even successfully pushed the blame back onto Rin Qing. Chapter 586. For a moment, Ling Hong's eyes were shining as he looked at Lone Moon. He always felt that Lone Moon was able to reveal some unimaginable abilities from time to time. Lone Moon's expression was a little ugly. He had specially walked around the academy just now, trying to find the location of that spirit seed, but to no avail. He couldn't help but suspect the authenticity of that prize. Was the spirit seed really in the academy? Ling Hong. He couldn't help but ask for confirmation. Huh. Ling Hong was stunned, then reacted. Fellow Taoist, please speak. I heard that the prize for this competition is a colorful egg? Yes. He thought for a moment and nodded. It seems so. I heard that this egg is full of immortal qi. If you can get it, your cultivation might increase greatly. Oh, there's such a magical egg? I wonder if fellow Taoist Ling has seen it before? I haven't seen it before. He shook his head honestly. But this egg was brought back by chance when the teacher went to the Flame Mountain in the north for a mission. He thought of something and his expression darkened. My big brother injured his leg because of that. I see. Sorry to mention this. No. He shook his head nonchalantly. Thanks to you, my big brother has already drunk the medicine and will get better soon. You don't have to worry anymore. All right, if fellow Taoist Lone Moon is curious about that colored egg, the teachers will officially announce the prize in the second competition 3 days later. You can see it then. Oh, Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. He had the light in his eyes and nodded. His heart settled. He immediately changed the topic and talked about something else. It was good that they could see the spirit seed. It seemed like they could confirm in 3 days if it was what they were looking for. 3 days later, the second round of the league. Early in the morning, all the candidates who passed the first round arrived at Immortal Spirit Academy. Compared to the sea of people last time, the number of people this time was several times fewer. There were only 75 people who passed the first round. Including the teachers from the various academies, there were less than 200 people present. It seemed a little deserted. The competition venue this time was no longer outside, but moved inside Immortal Spirit Academy. Lone Moon and the others went in with Ling Hong and the others. Compared to the previous time, when no one paid any attention to them, the moment they entered, many people came up to greet them warmly. They were obviously customers from the previous round. Lone Moon smiled and responded to them one by one. Occasionally, he would say a few polite words. After a while, the rules of the competition were announced from above. A few teachers from the Immortal Academy appeared on the stage. Lone Moon glanced at them, but did not see Teacher Yin from last time. Ling Hong was right. The semifinals had indeed begun to announce the prizes. In this competition, the top 3 would each get a high-grade magic tool, and the first place would indeed get that Easter egg. The moment the Easter egg was revealed, Lone Moon sensed a faint trace of original source chi on it. Shun Ing. Lone Moon nudged the person beside him. Is this it? It's right. Shun-Ing looked up and tilted her head. Do we do it now? I Ching sent a voice transmission. Lone Moon frowned and turned to look at Ling Hong and the others. After a while, he shook his head and said, Forget it, since we've already confirmed that it's a spirit seed and we've entered the second round. Why don't we win this prize openly? It's just a waste of time. There's no need to implicate others. The master and disciple exchanged a look, then looked at Ling Hong and the others and nodded. Indeed, if he directly made a move now, Ling Hong and the others would definitely be thought of as their accomplices. They might as well win the competition and get the prize openly. After explaining the rules, the start of the competition was announced. The second round of competition was very simple. Everyone entered the maze ahead. Those who could find the exit within 6 hours would pass. Lone Moon activated his divine perception and explored the maze ahead. He discovered that it was a maze made up of many arrays. The deeper they went, the more complicated the arrays became. He thought for a moment and took out a few communication talismans and placed them in their hands. Once we enter, we'll be teleported to different places at the edges. We'll use this to contact each other. Let's meet up first. Don't act rashly. After he finished speaking, he turned to Shen-Ying and emphasized, especially you. Shen-Ying looked innocent. What, huh? Don't you have any F***king idea about your dark history? The eye of this maze array should be at the center. Don't move around after we enter. Just stay where you are and wait. When we meet up, we'll go to the eye of the array together. Don't do anything rash. Oh, all right. You're daddy. I'll listen to you. She took the talisman. At this time, the door of the maze was already open. The four of them took a deep breath and walked in. Almost in an instant, they felt a white light flash before their eyes. The next moment, they were in a completely different scene. Lone Moon looked around. Chef and Shen-Ying were gone. They were indeed teleported to different places. He released his divine perception to check around before activating the communication talisman in his hand. I'm at the west side of the entrance. Where are you? Report your positions. I'm at the east side. Chef's voice sounded. I should be at the south side. Buggy also replied. Where's Shen-Ying? Lone Moon asked directly when she didn't reply. Where are you? After a while, a voice sounded from the communication talisman. Shen-Ying looked around. She didn't know it all. Hence, she turned to look at the person beside her. Big brother, where is this? The man on the other side then replied with some difficulty. The heart of the array. Oh, thank you. Shen-Ying nodded before replying. Father Nyo, I'm at the heart of the array. Lone Moon, I Ching, Buggy, how on earth did she do it? She was teleported directly to the end point. Wait, don't run around. Father Nyo said before cutting off the communication. Oh. Shen-Ying then kept the talisman calmly and found a rock to sit on. She calmly took out a handful of melon seeds and started munching on them. Then, she even handed them to the person beside her. Want some? Yin Luo, who was guarding the array. Based on Yin Luo's cultivation, he actually didn't need to come in personally to guard the array. It was just that there were indeed some things he couldn't figure out about the preliminary round a few days ago. Though Ren Qing's words couldn't be completely trusted, he still had some suspicions about that invincible academy. So with the intention of finding out the truth, he temporarily replaced the teacher who was originally guarding the array to come in. He had the intention of testing Lone Moon and the others' abilities, and even specially chose the heart of the array. He thought that if they really had the ability, they would definitely barge all the way here. By then, he would act and change the array. Whether they cheated in the previous round, they would know once they tested their abilities. Of course, if they didn't even have the ability to barge into the heart of the array, that was even more needless. Chapter 587. Yin Luo had been waiting at the heart of the array right from the start, thinking that it would take at least 2 hours before he could see her. He just didn't expect that when he teleported to the heart of the array, there would be another person beside him instantly. And she looked a little familiar. He vaguely recalled that she seemed to be one of the 4 people from Invincible Academy, and seemed to have been teleported here by the teleportation array at the entrance. He also knew that the teleportation location at the entrance of the maze was random. But the random location was mostly at the periphery of the maze. The lucky ones would be in the middle. There had never been a direct teleportation to the end. If everyone could reach the end as soon as they entered the door, what was the point of competing? Yin Luo had to say that he was dumbfounded. What surprised him even more was that she clearly only had to turn around to leave the array. Then she would be the first person to pass the second round of the competition. Although he was the teacher in charge of guarding the array, according to the rules, he could only mobilize the surrounding array and not directly attack. And she was directly standing on the array point, which meant that he couldn't stop her at all. But the strange thing was that not only did she not go out, she even sat down very calmly, down, and she looked like she planned to stay here for a long time, completely not the least bit anxious. By the time he reacted, he was already sitting on the array heartstone with her, cracking melon seeds. He even unconsciously took out the good tea and some snacks from his storage ring that he had kept for many years. This is high-quality tea. Do you want a cup? Sure. Shining calmly took a cup and brought out a few plates of pastries. Do you want pastries? My chef makes them. They're especially delicious. The fragrance is really not bad. You can have 2 pieces. Thank you. You're welcome. Wait a minute. What was he doing? Why did he start eating without realizing it? Shouldn't he take the opportunity to find out more about this invincible academy? But these pastries were indeed delicious. What if he couldn't resist it? Yin Luo took a few deep breaths before regaining the composure he had when he almost ran away from home. He couldn't help but ask, Miss, why aren't you leaving the array? You'll win if you leave. The first place kind. Waiting for Father Nyo and Chef to come pick it up. Shuning said matter-of-factly. What? He was stunned. Who was Father Nyo? Wasn't she in the same group as Lone Moon? Just as she was about to ask for more details, she suddenly stopped and put down the teacup in her hand. Coming. Huh? What's coming? Yin Luo was stunned, and before he could react, the array in front of him shook. The surroundings instantly lit up with numerous arrays, and in the next moment, a few figures suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Lone Moon whom he had met a few days ago, and another man. He remembered that his name seemed to be I Ching. The other party was even carrying a bug in his hand. This speed of breaking through the formation was too fast. He hadn't even finished his 2 pieces of pastries. Wait, now is not the time to think about pastries. Master! I Ching saw the person on the hard array stone at a glance, and his heart relaxed. Hey, Chef! Shining waved as she nibbled on her pastry. Teacher Yin. Lone Moon instantly recognized the person beside Shining. No wonder he did not see him outside just now. He was the one guarding the array. Little friend Lone Moon, we meet again. Yin Luo finally reacted. He kept the pastry in his hand and coughed, barely regaining the demeanor of a teacher. Looks like the 2 of you are indeed skilled in Dharma, to be able to find the heart of the array so quickly. But it's not so easy to pass through here. With that said, he directly conjured a seal with both hands and activated the layers of array formations at the heart of the array. For a moment, the surrounding array formations lit up and layers of array formations appeared in the surroundings. Lone Moon did not waste time either. He directly summoned a spirit sword and turned to instruct. Chef, you're in charge of the array formation on the left. I'll go and break the array formation on the right. Buggy, you squat where you are and don't move. All right. Buggy squatted down obediently. In the next moment, the 2 of them flew out at the same time and started to break the layers of array formations around them at the fastest speed possible. The heart of the array was originally the place with the most array formations in the maze. Plus Yin Luo had specially set up a few more layers of array formations just now. Right now, there were as many as 10 layers of array formations surrounding the surroundings, each with different effects and attributes. But the 2 of them seemed to have entered an uninhabited place. They only needed to take a look to find the weaknesses of the array formations and then directly break them. In less than a breath's time, their speed was so fast that even Yin Luo was stunned. Only those who had a thorough understanding of array formations could break the array formations so easily. Not only that, not a single one of those array formations attacks hit them. Their figures were so fast that they were like afterimages. Even Yin Luo could not help but want to praise beautiful. For a moment, his suspicions towards them were completely dispelled. He even felt some pity. Such good seedlings. Why weren't they disciples of a mortal academy? He was an array cultivator in the first place. Seeing the 2 of them breaking the array so skillfully, he actually had some thoughts of wanting to spar with them. To test their bottom-line thoughts. Seeing that the 2 of them were about to break in, Yin Luo could not help but directly activate the array-guarding beast. For a moment, a huge fire over 100 feet tall burned around him, bringing with it a scorching heat, instantly turning the surroundings into a fiery red. Shunning, who was sitting, suddenly felt the stone beneath her move and float up slowly, and the ground beneath her feet started to collapse inch by inch, revealing a huge hole. The blazing fire in the hole became even more intense, followed by a long cry. only to see a three-legged firebird flying out of that hole, its entire body burning in flames, soaring up into the sky and circling one round in the sky. For a moment, there seemed to be a déjà vu as if the entire sky was burning. That giant bird flew one round and finally flew towards Yin Luo and Shun Ying's direction, while that array heartstone beneath their feet also slowly landed on the bird's back. That three-legged bird let out another bird cry. For a moment, the flames below grew even higher, as if it was going to burn everything in the surroundings. Lone Moon and I Ching were both stunned. They did not expect that there would actually be such an array-guarding beast in this array heart. Their expressions darkened, and they directly broke the last layer of the array formation. At this moment, the surrounding array formations had all disappeared, leaving only a few beside Yin Luo. Master, I Ching looked towards the person on the array heartstone rather worriedly. Before Shun Ying could reply, it was Yin Luo who was taken aback, lowering his head to look at the lady with a pile of delicious food beside him. Master? This lady was actually that person's master. Why did the teachers of this academy also come to compete? Of course, he could tell that based on the speed at which the two of them were breaking the array, they must have held back. Even his desire to spar had been aroused. That was why he summoned the array-guarding beast, which was originally not part of the competition. Initially, he was still worried that they would not give it their all. Now, his eyes narrowed. A thought instantly popped up in his mind. Hence, he directly said, "The two of you are indeed extraordinarily talented and proficient in array formations. But to get past me, the two of you still have to show your true abilities otherwise." He deliberately glanced at Shun Ying. "I dare not guarantee that nothing will happen to this lady." The threat in his words was obvious. Chapter 588. What did you say? Chef's expression darkened instantly, as if something was about to explode from his body. Yet Yin Luo didn't notice this, instead turning back to send a voice transmission to Shun Ying beside him. "Little girl, cooperate with me." Shun Ying faltered, suddenly lifting her head to give him a strange look. "Big brother, you're playing with fire. Do you know that?" What the hell was this tone of a domineering CEO? Yin Luo faltered for a moment, but still directly reached out to pull Shun Ying up, turning his head and continuing with some excitement. "If you want to save this lady, then do your best otherwise." Eh. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a huge wave of sword chi suddenly engulfing the sky and covering the earth. A huge golden sword instantly appeared above his head, smashing down right on top of his head. For a moment, he only felt his chi churning. The array beside him instantly shattered. The sky full of murderous intent surged over. Even the three-legged bird below could not withstand it, falling down with a thud. Yin Luo was completely stunned in the midst of the sudden appearance of sword chi and murderous intent, not to mention resisting. He couldn't even open his eyes. Boundless fear instantly engulfed his entire body. There was only one word in his mind: die. He could only widen his eyes, watching the huge sword above his head, chopping straight down towards him, about to hit him. "Chef!" Yet a voice suddenly sounded beside him. That sword instantly paused, stopping less than half a foot above his head, slowly turning into spots of light and disappearing. In the next moment, the other party's cold as ice reply came from beside him. "Don't touch my master!" Unknowingly, I Ching had already appeared on the array stone, turning to hug the person beside him, looking at him with a face full of murderous intent. Shun Ying also reached out and patted his shoulder. "That's why I said, don't play with fire." Yin Luo. In the next moment, his legs gave way and he sat paralyzed on the ground, cold sweat pouring down his head. Only then did he realize something. "Foodie, are you all right?" Lone Moon also flew over. Shun Ying nodded, turning to look at the three-legged bird beneath her feet. "Do you guys think this can be eaten?" The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Indeed, worrying about her was unnecessary. She was still thinking about food at a time like this. Chef took out his knife out of habit. "Try it, and you'll know." With that said, he jumped down with a knife in one hand and Shun Ying in the other, heading towards the beast guarding array. As if sensing its fate, the beast guarding formation started crying out crazily. However, it was suppressed by the sword chi and could not move at all. It looked like it was about to die under the saber. Wait! Two voices sounded at the same time. The knife is keeping the bird. Yin Luo finally reacted. Buggy below also hugged onto I Ching's leg. Great immortal, you can't kill this. Why? The master and disciple asked in unison. Yin Luo was stunned. Because this is a formation guarding beast. Shining frowned. Are the array guarding beasts poisonous? There's no poison, but you guys are. Who want to kill an array guardian beast? Instead, Buggy had an idea and hurriedly said, Great immortal, the three-legged firebird is Yang City's guardian beast. There's only one. You can't kill it. Oh. Shining then called Chef back. So it's to protect animals. Then there's no other way. She turned to look at the bird on the ground in disappointment. The entire firebird shuddered under her gaze. When the sword chi on its body lightened, it immediately screeched and turned to burrow back into the fire hole on the ground, shivering. Before it went in, it even grabbed the array heartstone with one claw and covered it firmly back to its original spot, pretending that it had never come out. Yin Luo, Lone Moon Buggy, probably even the bird's life would be filled with schemes. You guys! Yin Luo then turned to sweep a glance at the few people present. Recalling that terrifying sword chi earlier, his body shuddered instantly. He suddenly understood why they had to hide their strength when they were breaking the array earlier. With this kind of strength, not to mention him, even in the entire Voidland, it would be hard to find a match. For a moment, he was even more puzzled. Seniors have this kind of strength. Why did you come to participate in the league? Why can't we participate? Lone Moon asked in return. Yin Luo stiffened. It's not that you can't. It's just that this competition is a competition between the disciples of the various academies. Aren't we disciples too? Who are you lying to? Are there disciples with your level of cultivation? Teacher Yin, who set the rule that disciples can't have higher cultivation? You guys didn't restrict the contestants' cultivation level. You're blaming me? That makes so much sense. Yin Luo's expression darkened. So there was such a trick. Though it was stated from the start that it was a competition between academies, there was indeed no restriction on cultivation level, much less whether the participants were disciples or teachers. It was just that everyone automatically took it as disciples. Lone Moon admitted it when he saw that he was exposed. We passed by this place and saw that this competition was rather interesting, so we signed up for fun. Was it so interesting to bully a bunch of little kids? He really wanted to say, shameless. But he couldn't beat them. He really didn't dare to. Now that he thought about it, what Renqing said previously might have been true. During the first competition, these people entered their mystic realm, captured the beasts they reared, and even sold them to their disciples who were participating in the competition, and even almost captured their array guardian beast just now. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Yin Luo felt bitter. If they were to organize such competitions in the future, they definitely had to restrict the contestants' cultivation level. Shenying's group of 4 became the first to pass the second round of competition, and there were even 4 of them who came out at once. From entering the maze to coming out, it took less than an hour. Even the people who tried the maze in the academy in the past did not have such a fast record. Yet what shocked them even more was that it wasn't just these 4 people. Right after them, more and more people walked out of the maze, and all of them were unscathed, as if they didn't encounter any array at all. The originally estimated 6 hours of competition time ended in less than 4 hours. Most of the people inside came out. When the competition ended, out of the 75 contestants who went in, 70 passed. Only 5 people didn't come out or were injured by the array at the start and were sent out prematurely. Everyone from Spirit Immortal Academy was dumbfounded. This was different from what they thought. It was after all the semi-finals. Naturally, it was more difficult than the preliminaries. The original plan was that it would be good if 15 people could successfully pass, but in the end, 90% of the people entered the finals. What kind of situation was this? Only Yin Luo, who was in the know, had a bitter expression. What else could it be? It was caused by those two people who pretended to be low-level disciples to sneak into the competition. Even the array guardian beast was frightened and left with serious repercussions. Even if they left, they wouldn't come out no matter what, directly causing the array in the maze to fail collectively. So the so-called maze after that was really just a maze. How could they not get out? Yin Luo felt bitter, but Yin Luo couldn't say it. Chapter 589. It was a fact that 70 disciples walked out of the array. No matter how suspicious the Immortal Academy was, they could only bite the bullet and continue with the competition. He felt that this combined competition was strange. There were too few people who passed the preliminaries and too many people who passed the semifinals. Anyway, they all ended mysteriously. However, he immediately realized that the first two rounds were not strange. The third round, 3 days later, was. The mechanism of the finals was very simple. It was nothing more than a duel between two people. The winner advanced until the top 3 were decided. In addition, the competition was carried out in front of everyone. Anything that happened could be seen at a glance. There would definitely not be any problems. That was what everyone thought. The competition was indeed very normal at the beginning, until the man called Lone Moon went on stage. Opponent 1. Aya, brother, you have a good cultivation. My talent is shallow, and I am no match for you. I admit defeat here. Everyone, it was only half a move, right? Aren't you admitting defeat a little too quickly? Opponent 2. Aya, brother, you have good swordsmanship. I am ashamed. I admit defeat. Everyone, wait, he didn't even use his sword? How did he know that his swordsmanship was good? Opponent 3. Aya, brother, your spirit chi is so strong. I can't hold it anymore. I lost. Everyone, damn your spirit chi. He didn't have anything on him, okay? Opponent 4. Aya, I see that you have an imposing appearance and a high cultivation. You're a rare genius. I am definitely not your match. I give up. Everyone, are you here to compete or to be a fortune teller? Opponent 5. My stomach suddenly hurts. I can't compete in this competition. Just take it as my loss. Opponent 6. My chest suddenly hurts. Opponent 7. My head suddenly hurts. Without exception, as long as they faced a man called Lone Moon, they would feel pain somewhere and admit defeat. So everyone could only watch in bewilderment as he advanced all the way to the top. The competition, which was originally estimated to last 3 days, ended in a single day after everyone lost without even fighting. Lone Moon also became the first person to become the champion without fighting at all. Immortal Academy, the teachers, what the hell? Wasn't this competition a little too casual? Why was it called a joint competition? Might as well call it a surrender competition. There must be something fishy about this. One of the teachers couldn't hold it in any longer. No, I absolutely don't recognize this leader. He hasn't drawn his sword since the beginning. It's ridiculous for such a person to become the chief. That's right. Another person chimed in. What's wrong with these academy disciples? Did they treat the league tournament as a game? They had to compete again. Otherwise, how could such a champion convince the public? I think so too, and we should investigate this matter thoroughly. I don't believe this person can get first place just because of luck. He even turned to the person beside him and said, Teacher Yin, you're the head of the commandment hall. What do you think we should do about this? The corners of Yin Luo's mouth twitched. He then stood up and took a deep breath before saying, No need. Just announce the results of the competition. What? The 3 of them were stunned, their faces filled with disbelief. How could such words come out of his mouth? But there's something wrong with this person. If he really becomes the chief, I'm afraid he won't be able to convince the public. Yin Luo glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. Look at the entire place. Can you find anyone who isn't convinced? The other party was stunned. He turned to look at the disciples in the field, only to realize that there really wasn't anyone. Not only that, before he even announced the end of the competition, those participants had already crowded over to congratulate him. There wasn't the slightest bit of displeasure on their faces. Even some teachers went over. What was going on? How could this be? He was dumbfounded, but still said with some dissatisfaction, "But this is too exaggerated. No matter what, we have to test his abilities before." "Junior brother." Yin Luo suddenly took a step forward and patted his shoulder with a serious expression, saying word by word, "Believe me, you definitely won't be willing to see his abilities. Even I was crushed. What more do you people who are weaker than me want? Hurry up, announce it." He waved his hand tiredly. Everyone was still a little confused, but seeing that Yin Luo, who had the highest cultivation, had already admitted it, they couldn't say anything more and directly announced the results of the competition. Hence, Lone Moon gloriously became the first chief of the United Academy competition. Exalted? Exalted immortal? Instead, Buggy, who had been watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but ask, why would they all willingly admit defeat? Buggy had a bewildered expression. Although there was the friendship of selling beasties previously, but it was a competition between the academies after all. No matter how he thought about it, it was impossible for so many people to admit defeat on their own. Lone Moon turned back to look at him before answering. "Oh, because I sent a message to them last night. Those who lose to me in today's competition can get a 50% discount on their debts from the Mystic Realm." Buggy, Ching, shunning. So this was the reason why he said they didn't need to participate in the finals? He really can make a business out of anything. He suddenly felt a little sympathy for those who owed debts. What to do? Due to the accelerated process of the competition, the second and third places were decided very quickly. Finally, it was time for the exciting award ceremony. Lone Moon couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. He could get the Spirit Seed back and go home soon. Even those teachers from Immortal Spirit Academy who were looking at him with complicated expressions were now eager for everything, until the other party handed 2 bags to his hands. His expression then darkened abruptly. "What's this?" "Your prize for the champion." The teacher who was presenting the awards replied in a bad mood. "This is the prize." Lone Moon's expression darkened even more as he raised the 2 bags in his hands and asked again, "This is an immortal stone." That teacher thought he had never seen an immortal stone before and explained directly, "Immortal stones are even rarer than spirit stones." "Of course I know these are immortal stones." Nonsense. Did he think he had never seen immortal stones before? There were hundreds of thousands lying in his own storage bag. Lone Moon's expression turned cold as he took a deep breath and said, "If I remember correctly, the prize for the champion that you announced back then wasn't this disciple of yours. Don't be so ungrateful." Hearing his dissatisfied tone, that teacher looked at him with some reproach and said, "This is a whole 2,000 immortal stones. The rich energy within is even more than the one in the Easter egg previously. You get this? I don't need immortal stones." Lone Moon directly cut him off. "Where's the Easter egg?" "You." The teacher was a little angry as well and said directly, "There's no Easter egg. These immortal stones are the prize." Chapter 590. Lone Moon's expression darkened in an instant. Even I Ching's expression darkened beside him. His lips curled into a smile instantly as he said word by word, "What this teacher means is that you intend to go back on your word at the last minute? Damn it, I've been busy for half a day. At the last moment, you actually dare to switch the egg for me. To hell with the competition." He should have made a move right from the start. At once, the sword chi around him was released instantly. The boundless pressure was about to sweep towards the surroundings. The teacher, who was still a little annoyed that he did not know how to appreciate favors, paled instantly. His legs trembled, and he was about to kneel down. Beside him, Yin Luo only felt his heart skip a beat before he hurriedly rushed over. Fellow Taoist, don't be rash. Let's talk things through." Yin Luo hurriedly pulled the person who had just given out the award behind him. Looking at this person's reaction, he suddenly understood the purpose of participating in the competition these few days. It was probably for that egg. But as for why the reward was suddenly changed, he wasn't very clear. Yet he hurriedly turned around and asked, "Junior brother, where's that Easter egg? Why did the reward suddenly change?" "Senior brother Yin." That person was dazed. He shuddered for no reason at the thought of that huge aura just now. Only then did he reply with some lingering fear in his heart. "That egg is With the insect clan, yesterday the insect clan sent a message asking for that Easter egg from us. That insect clan queen has always liked this kind of egg, so they thought that the Easter egg was just a little richer in spirit chi. There was nothing strange about it. So they changed the reward to immortal stones, and, as compensation, they even doubled it. No cultivator would have any objections to this kind of situation, who knew that someone who did not lack immortal stones at all would come. Insect clan? Lone Moon frowned, turning to look at a certain insect at the side. Buggy shuddered instantly. He hurriedly shook his head like a rattle drum. I don't know anything. He hurriedly pointed to the butterfly knot on his head and said, "You guys know the last time Great Immortal tied up my antennae. Until now, I still have no way of contacting the insects in the clan." Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look, their expressions darkening even more. Shining instead suddenly spoke. "Where's the nest of your insect clan?" It's in the northern desert's insect mountain." Buggy answered honestly. Their faces darkened, and without any delay, they picked up Buggy and flew up on their swords. "Lead the way." With that, the three people and one bug disappear before their eyes. Only then did the sword chi at the scene disappear. The teacher's legs went soft, and they sat on the ground. "Teacher Yin, who are those people? Don't ask me." Yin Luo's face was bitter. "I don't know either. Anyway, he wasn't to be trifled with." The few of them flew very quickly, and in a short while they had already flown above a desert. From afar, they could see black mountains ahead of them. The one in the middle was so tall that it reached the clouds. The mountains seemed to be made of a special kind of rock. There were no plants on it, and it looked like a black tower. There were all kinds of giant zergs crawling around the tower. Some of them were in human form, while others were in beetle form. What was even more peculiar was that there were all kinds of birds on Insect Mountain, and they looked similar to those in the Mystic Realm previously. These were demon beasts. Since when did the Insect Clan live together with demon beasts? And most of them were from the Winged Clan. All of us Insect Clan were born from the Queen, but ever since we arrived at the end of the Void, her rate of production decreased by a lot. So the Queen has nothing to do and recently has a special hobby. Buggy pointed at those demon beasts below and explained. She not only likes to lay eggs, she also likes to incubate eggs. And there was no limit to the type of eggs. I Ching, Lone Moon, Shaning, was this the reason why she suddenly wanted to leave the Easter egg? Just because she laid too few eggs and wanted to incubate other people's eggs for fun? The three of them frowned. Buggy could not help but plead weakly. "Great Immortal, our queen is actually a very good insect. She definitely doesn't know that the egg is yours. That's why she wants to leave. Can you give Buggy a chance to explain the situation to her? Can we not take action?" The few of them looked at each other and nodded. "All right, since you've been working hard these past few days, I'll give it to you." Only then did Buggy heave a sigh of relief and hurriedly led the three of them into the mother nest, bringing them all the way in. There were no more demon beasts in the nest. It was densely packed with all kinds of insects. Most of them were in their original forms, looking extremely terrifying. Perhaps it was because Buggy was leading the way, they did not attack many people. Buggy brought them round and round, all the way to the innermost part of the nest, and stopped in a circular passageway. They could faintly see an extremely large space in front, and on both sides of the passageway, there were several tens of tall bugs guarding. Buggy went forward and touched his antennae with the one in front, communicating something. After a while, he turned back to look at the few of them. "Great Immortals, please wait here for a moment. The Queen will summon me soon." With that said, he knelt down in the passageway obediently, as if waiting for something. That insect that was communicating with him earlier had already turned and crawled into the room in front to make a report. The few of them waited for about a quarter of an hour before that reporting insect walked out and went forward to nod at Buggy. Instantly, the several tens of tall insects in the passageway retreated to both sides, opening up a passageway. "Great Immortal, the Queen wants to see me and you." Buggy turned to look at Lone Moon and explained. "All right." Lone Moon nodded and turned back to look at Shun Ing and Chef. "Wait here for a while." With that said, he directly followed Buggy in, They had just taken a few steps when a barrier appeared in front of them. They directly passed through it, and instantly the scenery before their eyes changed. They arrived in a huge circular cave. Different from what they imagined, the cave was filled with fresh flowers, like a sea of flowers, and in the middle of the sea of flowers, a huge insect that looked like a moth was entrenched in the cave. Its body was extremely huge, almost taking up half of the entire cave. A pair of huge compound eyes on its head were staring at the two who came in. 8 long steel-like legs were curled under its body. A huge belly laid flat on the ground. Streaks of light flashed across its belly from time to time, and from time to time, a white egg would pop out with a popping sound. Surrounding its body were some insects that were half the height of a human. They seemed to be the insect race that specialized in transporting eggs for the queen, lining up one by one to catch the insect eggs that the queen gave birth to, and then transporting them out one by one. And under the queen's belly, there was also a circle of eggs of different colors and auras. They looked like those of strange beasts. Buggy was right. This queen indeed liked to incubate eggs. "You're the human who won that colored egg?" The queen suddenly spoke. Her mouth clearly did not move, but a somewhat sharp female voice instantly spread throughout the entire room. Chapter 591. That's right. Lone Moon stepped forward. The queen shifted her huge body and moved closer. Her compound eyes, which were half the size of a human's head, reflected tens of millions of images of Lone Moon. After looking for a while, she laughed coldly. "Human, you're very brave. Do you know that in these thousands of years, you're the first person who dares to enter my tribe's nest?" "Queen, I didn't mean to offend you." Lone Moon frowned. His impression of the insect race was still stuck in those horror movies in his previous life. He could only treat the insect in front of him as a large demon beast. "But the egg that you took away is very important to us. Please return it to us." "You're talking about this?" It suddenly moved its belly. There were all kinds of spirit beast eggs under its huge belly. The one in the center was that colored egg. It directly reached out with 2 tentacles and picked up that colored egg. Its cold compound eyes looked at Lone Moon again. "You want this egg?" Lone Moon nodded. "Yes." It suddenly laughed. That laughter was very strange, like a kind of howl. It was a little ear-piercing, and there was not a bit of emotion in it. It was as if it was simply saying a noun. You humans can always find some strange things. This egg is the same. It doesn't look like there's much energy in it, but in reality, the energy here is purer than anything else. You can't see it, but I can feel it." Lone Moon frowned. Then he heard it say again, "Do you know why I want to collect these eggs?" It seemed like it didn't need him to answer. It continued, "My children have limited intelligence. They think that I just like them, so they go around looking for eggs for me to incubate. But they don't know that I'm only interested in the energy in these eggs. It can soothe the injuries in my body. Our insect race has always lived by the queen. As long as I'm here, the insect race will not perish." It waved its tentacles and turned the colored egg on it. Its voice deepened. "It's just that when I transmigrated to this end of the void, I suffered irreparable injuries. This caused my reproduction rate to seriously decline. This caused our insect race to be unable to regain the glory of the past. But this egg can temporarily heal this kind of injury, especially this one with especially pure energy." Then human, his voice sank, and there was a hint of sarcasm in it. "Do you think I will return such a thing to you?" Lone Moon's frown deepened. It looked like he could not reason with her. "Then the queen should know that since I dare to come to your nest, I have to get this egg. We're not afraid of fighting directly." The queen let out that weird laugh again. The thousands of shadows in her huge compound eyes became even clearer. It was extremely horrifying. After a while, she continued to say in a deep voice, "Human, you don't have to threaten me. From the moment you enter the royal family, I could feel the abilities on your bodies. You are indeed very strong, but you are not so strong that you have no weaknesses." Lone Moon was stunned. He sensed carefully and immediately felt his body stiffen. The god power in his body suddenly felt like it was being restrained. This feeling was a little familiar. It was just like when he was forced to marry by that peach blossom demon. His heart jumped. The flowers here, you finally noticed? The queen laughed even louder. Why do you think I stayed here to talk to you for so long? I've said it before, I'm different from those children with low intelligence. And you humans have always been arrogant. You prefer to materialize alien races that have no human form. Shit. Lone Moon also felt that he had been too careless. The intelligence of this Queen Zerg was not like that of ordinary beasts. She was even more cunning than ordinary people. She had never thought of giving him the egg in the first place. She had only set a trap for him to come in. Buggy, who was at the side, was rather anxious. He looked at Lone Moon and then at the Queen. My Queen, the nature of its race made it unable to say anything to refute its own queen. It could only be anxious. The energy in your body is quite interesting. The Queen crawled 2 steps towards him. There was a hint of murderous intent in those cold compound eyes. Perhaps if I absorb your energy, my injuries will heal faster. With that said, she raised her front limbs that were like huge guillotines. For Buggy's sake, we do not wish to fight you. Lone Moon's surprise was only for a moment. He immediately regained his composure. Back then, the flower demon could control him mainly because of the bewitchment. He was not conscious at that time. It was not that those flowers could really restrain him. He was a manager after all. Do you really think you can win just because you used these flowers to seal my god power? The Queen paused. As if she had thought of something, she smiled again. Are you talking about those 2 people outside? She snorted coldly. Foolish human. Do you really think they can save you? That's good too. Anyway, you're all going to become my food. We don't mind letting you reunite first. With that said, she made another indecipherable sound. The next moment, the footsteps of 2 people could be heard from outside. In a short while, 2 familiar figures were reflected on the barrier at the door. I like to see if they're like you. Have as much energy as you do. The moment the Queen finished speaking, 2 figures passed through the screen and walked into the room. Naive human, I will not be defeated, huh? The Queen's words were stuck in her throat. She shuddered violently, as if she had been hit by a wave. It was as if she had received a huge shock. It was a man and a woman who entered. The man was indeed emitting even more intense energy. As for the woman, great Demon King. With a few puff sounds, her tail shook and she was so frightened that she spat out a series of insect eggs. Yo! Shining looked up and glanced at the Queen. Big insect. The next moment, the Queen sprawled on the ground at lightning speed. She directly raised the colored egg on her feeler and handed it over to Shining. Lord Shining, your egg. She was so terrified that she could not react in time. It was as if that insufferably arrogant person just now wasn't it. Lone Moon, Ching, Buggy, he indeed, terrified at the sight of him was a fine racial tradition of the insect race. Oh. Shining directly reached out to receive the egg. Her fingers moved, but she still resisted the urge to pull the Queen over out of habit. The girl hurriedly retracted her feeler and retreated in a flash. Her entire insect shrunk to the other side of the room. Her huge body curled up into a ball, trying hard to reduce her presence. The arrogance earlier disappeared instantly, as if she had never existed. She did not even dare to lay an egg. Chapter 592. Lone Moon frowned. He felt like he had just seen a fake Worm King. He couldn't be bothered with it. He walked towards Shan-Ing and looked at the egg in her hand. How is it, Shan-Ing? Is this the spirit seed? Shan-Ing frowned. After a while, she replied, maybe. With that said, she suddenly tightened her grip. There was a crisp sound. The spirit seed was crushed. Holy shit, Shan-Ing, what are you? He stopped mid-sentence. It's empty. How could this be? He looked at her palm carefully. There was only an empty eggshell. There was nothing inside. Even the aura of the original source on the egg had disappeared. All of a sudden, the 3 of them turned to look at a certain huge body. It's none of my business, Lord. The Queen shuddered. Her entire body shook. Even the house fell a layer of dust. It looked like it was about to collapse. I didn't open the egg. I just absorbed some of the energy on the eggshell. Really, I swear. With that said, she raised her 8 claws and 2 antennae. Only her huge stomach was left to maintain her body. This spirit seed might not have been in the egg from the beginning, I Ching said in a low voice. This might be why we couldn't find its location at Immortal Academy. The original chi on the eggshell was too weak. They couldn't find it unless they saw it face to face. At first, they thought it was because the eggshell was shielding the spirit seed. They didn't expect that the spirit seed was not here at all. Lo Moon thought about it. That was true. This queen wouldn't dare to lie to Shunning. Besides, the spirit seed was so rich in original chi. If it was really in the worm nest, they couldn't have not detected it. What do we do now? He frowned. The clue was broken again. Where can we find it? Now that the eggshell is here, it's very likely that the spirit seed has already left this state. I Ching frowned too. We don't know what state it will appear in. We really don't know where to start looking. The two of them fell silent. They didn't expect to be in vain. Why don't we ask Fishbone? Shunning suddenly said. What Fishbone? Lo Moon was stunned. After a while, he reacted. You mean Ling Wenxian? Why are you looking for him? I Ching paused and hurriedly reminded. Father Nyo, do you remember how Ling Wenxian's leg was injured? Lo Moon still did not understand. Didn't you say that we went on a mission with the Academy and then encountered a demon beast and brought along this spirit? Holy shit. He reacted instantly and his eyes widened. Don't tell me he was the one who brought this spiritual seed back. Ling Hong had told him before that the prize for first place in the competition was found by Ling Wenxian when he broke his leg on a mission. This proved that they must have encountered danger before they found the spirit seed. Ling Wenxian was also injured, so he naturally knew what happened at that time. Let's go back and find him. He walked out, and Shun Ying and I Ching followed. In the blink of an eye, the three of them disappeared from the room. A certain huge object that was still huddled in the corner heaved a sigh of relief. However, it still did not dare to make too much noise, afraid that it would attract the attention of the person who had already gone far away. It actually didn't die. It was still alive. Actually didn't go extinct. I want to cry. The few of them flew very quickly. In less than a quarter of an hour, they flew back to Yang City and went straight to Ling Hong's house. Ling Hong had gone to the academy. When they arrived, he was still not back. Ling Wenxian, who opened the door, was stunned for a moment when he saw them. He hurriedly welcomed them in. Three benefactors. Why are you here? His expression lit up, and he invited them to take a seat. In just a few days, his leg had already recovered, and he walked no different from a normal person. Lo Moon glanced at him and found that the demonic chi in his body had also dissipated completely, and he had regained his golden core cultivation. I was originally planning to wait for my younger brother to come back, and personally thank you. I didn't think that the three of you would come here first. He looked at the three of them and asked, as if thinking of something, I remember that today is the day of the finals. Why didn't Ling Hong come back with benefactors? We had something on, so we left first, Lo Moon replied. I took the liberty of disturbing you this time because I have something important to ask fellow Taoist Ling. Fellow Taoist is too courteous. Just call me Wenxian. His smile became even more gentle. My leg only recovered because of your help. As long as benefactors have any use for me, just say the word. I will definitely not hesitate to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. Fellow Taoist is too kind. Lo Moon habitually replied politely. We only help to refine the fish bones. It's not much of a favor. His expression became even more solemn. Benefactors, what are you saying? My younger brother can't tell, but how can I not know? No matter how special that red-scented fishbone is, it can't heal my leg and restore my cultivation. He said directly, the medicine that benefactors gave me that day is completely different from the one that my younger brother made. I understand that it was benefactors who helped me secretly that I could recover so quickly. With that said, he directly knelt down and solemnly bowed to the three of them. Many thanks, benefactors, for giving me a new lease on life. Fellow Taoist Wenxian, don't stand on ceremony. He didn't expect him to be such an understanding person. That's good. Lo Moon hurriedly helped him up. Last time was just a small effort, but now we do have something important that we need to trouble you with. Benefactors, please speak. Ling Wenxian seemed to see their eagerness. Without further delay, he directly asked, "Fellow Taoist, can you tell us in detail about this Easter egg?" He directly took out the Easter egg that was crushed by Shuning and then restored by him using sorcery. "What did you find it that day? Did you encounter anything?" "This Easter egg?" Ling Wenxian was stunned. He took a look at that egg, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. "So, fellow Taoist, won the championship of the United Competition. Congratulations, fellow Taoist." He happily congratulated him, and then answered, "Actually, this egg was found when I went to the Flame Mountain in the north with the Academy's teachers for a mission." He carefully recalled for a while before continuing. "That Flame Mountain is a volcano. There are many beasts in the flame forest nearby. At that time, a high-level beast broke into a nearby town and could not be dealt with. So we asked the Immortal Spirit Academy to help. And this Easter egg was found in the beast's nest when we were exterminating it. Other than that, did anything strange happen?" Lone Moon continued to ask. "No." He shook his head. "Speaking of strange, that beast was unexpectedly ferocious. Even the teachers could not completely defend against it. So He subconsciously looked down at his feet and sighed. "After I was bitten, I lost all my cultivation and could not use any sorcery at all." "Wait a minute. Cultivation?" Chapter 593. Lone Moon faltered, turning back to size him up, as if he was about to think of something but couldn't grasp it, until Chef at the side suddenly reminded, "It's demonic chi." He was stunned for a moment, then instantly understood what the problem was. This was the end of the void because it was too messy. The demon beasts here actually didn't have demonic chi, but a kind of messy aura that they couldn't identify. Like the beasts in the mystic realm and the peach blossom spirit from last time, they didn't have demonic chi aura at all. But Ling Wenxian's injury was indeed due to the effects of demonic chi. He mixed the elixir into the medicine, dispersing the demonic chi in his dantian. Then he recovered. So, the beast they were dealing with was a real demon beast. Like the plane they were in, a demon beast with demonic chi. Lone Moon looked at the eggshell in his hand again. Only the original source spirit seed could give birth to pure demon beasts. This eggshell alone couldn't do it, which meant that this spirit seed was actually once in this egg. No, it should be said that it was once in that flame mountain that caused those demon beasts to have demonic chi, and it was brought back to its nest by that beast, but then it disappeared? Ling Wenxian faltered. Suddenly looking at the empty egg in Lone Moon's hand, he subconsciously said, "Why does the energy in this egg feel like it has decreased a lot?" He said with a puzzled expression, "I remember when I first saw this egg, the energy inside was much denser." Lone Moon turned back to look at him, instantly firming up his thoughts. "Fellow Taoist Wenxian, you should ask about the specific location of that Flame Mountain." "Flame Mountain is in the north towards the west." Ling Wenxian answered, "It's thousands of miles away from Yang City." "Thank you for telling us." Lone Moon nodded. "We have urgent matters to attend to. We won't disturb you any longer. We'll take our leave first." The few of them got up and planned to leave, but Ling Wenxian directly stood up and said with some anxiousness, "Are you guys really going to Flame Mountain?" Lone Moon felt that there was no need to hide anymore. He directly nodded. "Yes, we have something to investigate. That place is too dangerous, and the terrain is complicated." He had a worried expression. He thought for a while, then gritted his teeth and said directly, "Why don't I go with you guys? I can lead the way for you." "It would be best if someone could lead the way." Lone Moon glanced at him and shook his head. "There's no need. You're a disciple of the Immortal Academy. It's not good for you to leave just like that." This academy was not much different from a sect. He was already disliked when he was injured, and even Ling Hong and the others were often targeted by others. There was no need for him to cause trouble for them, but he was still a little worried. Seeing that they really did not need him to lead the way, he thought for a moment and said, "Then please wait a moment." He suddenly turned around and entered a room at the side. He took out a brush and ink and began to quickly draw something. After a while, He walked over with 2 pieces of paper. This is the map to the Flame Mountain. The other one is the terrain of the Flame Mountain that I drew based on my memory. Maybe it will be of help to you. Lone Moon took a look. The drawing on the paper was very detailed. Even the places where they discovered the strange beasts were marked out. It was indeed what they needed. Thank you, fellow Taoist Wenxian. It's what I should do. He smiled and took out a communication jade token. If there's anything that you're not clear about, you can contact me through this jade token. Lone Moon took it over and nodded. Then, he left with Shun Ing and Chef. After taking a close look at the map, the few of them headed directly in the direction of the Flame Mountain. As they could not teleport directly, they could only fly on their swords. However, the further north they flew, the hotter the surroundings became. Even the terrain became more and more desolate. The ground was a patch of withered yellow. The grass that they occasionally saw was also wilted. It was as if they had been exposed to the sun. They flew for 2 to 3 days. The strange thing was that the scenery below suddenly changed. Large patches of green forest appeared. Though the weather was still hot, it was as if the whole world had come alive. There was a sense of liveliness everywhere. I Ching frowned. He looked at the forest below and couldn't help but say, Father Nyo, this forest. Lone Moon's expression darkened. This forest is filled with demonic qi. It seems that there is more than one strange beast with demonic qi. The two of them exchanged a look. They sped up towards the Flame Mountain. They spent another half a day before reaching their destination. They saw a huge volcano from afar. Fiery red light could be seen at the mouth of the volcano from time to time. There was even black smoke above it. In front of them was a huge forest that they couldn't see the end of. It was densely packed with trees. Moreover, it was clearly very hot. However, the forest was also shrouded in layers of white fog. The entire forest felt like a fairyland. However, these were slightly different in I Ching and Lone Moon's eyes. Other than the white fog, the demonic qi in this forest was the thickest they had seen along the way. Though it was not as good as the demon realm they had seen in the past, but looking at the forest, there were at least demon beasts that were level 8 and above. Lone Moon took out the second map and compared it carefully. He then released his divine perception to scan the entire forest. Then, he pointed to the right and said, The place where we found the spirit seed is over there. With that said, the few of them directly turned and flew in that direction. In a short while, a clear little lake appeared in front of them. It was called a lake, but it was actually not much bigger than a pond. However, in the middle of the lake, there was a piece of land that was more than 10 meters wide. The place that Ling Wenxian had drawn where they found the spirit seed was on it. The 3 of them directly landed. Indeed, the moment they landed, they felt a trace of original source qi rushing towards them. This little island was not big. One look and they could see everything. There was also a huge nest in the forest on the island. That original source qi was emitted from it, only that the nest was empty. Lone Moon walked one round around this huge nest. It was obvious that there should have been a demon beast here in the past. But now, even the surrounding demonic qi was very faint. Chef, did you discover anything? Lone Moon looked at the person beside him and asked. Chef shook his head. The original source qi here should be leftovers from a long time ago. The spirit seed should not have been here for a long time. In other words, they had made a wasted trip again? Lone Moon was a little frustrated. He turned to look at Shun Ing and said, Foodie, can we reject this matter about the spirit seed? Anyway, that spirit seed belonged to me, Lu. It had nothing to do with their plane. Shun Ing tilted her head. After a while, she said, Flower is very close to my sister. And then, what has it got to do with your sister? Only then did she say in all seriousness, Then he'll tell on me. Son of AB *TCH. Is this your so-called friendship as classmates? So it only started from telling on her parents. Chapter 594. Father Nyo. I Ching stepped forward and interrupted them. For some reason, he did not want to hear his master mention that man. Let's use the tracing technique to track the aura of the spirit seed. Lone Moon hurriedly activated his god power and conjured a seal. In less than a moment, A beam of white light appeared between his fingers and formed an array on the ground. Several rays of light shot out from the formation and shot out in all directions. The original chi here hasn't dissipated yet. We should be able to find it soon. Before he could finish speaking, the ground suddenly shook. With a rumbling sound, the ground began to crack inch by inch. The trees around them began to shake. Even the ground beneath their feet cracked into a meter-wide ditch. There was no place to stand at all. I Ching hugged Shining beside him and flew up on their swords with Lone Moon. They were just about to fly into the sky. All of a sudden, several vines shot out from the ground and attacked a few of them. I Ching instinctively summoned his sword and turned around to slash at them. With just a light slash, the vines broke. They could no longer catch up with their speed. He did not even have to summon his sword chi. Huh? Chef was stunned. These tree vines were unbelievably weak. They did not have any spirit chi. It was as if they were just tree vines. The few of them flew up on their swords and looked back. All the trees on the island suddenly came to life. One by one, they pulled themselves out of the ground and stood up like tree men in sci-fi movies. As if they had gone mad, they waved their branches and threw vines at the three people in the sky. What is this? Lone Moon was stunned. Did these trees become spirits? However, these were all ordinary mortal plants. Even the sentient wood tree demons could only transform into spirit bodies. Their true bodies couldn't move. They were not plant spirits. Unless they ascended to immortality and their bodies were destroyed in the lightning tribulation, they could not transform into spirit bodies. Tree demons? I Ching was stunned as well. He looked closely at them. They all had demonic chi on them. This proved that they were demons. But they really pulled themselves out of the ground. What's more, they were using their roots as legs and moving towards them. Lone Moon looked at the scene in front of him in shock. The entire island. No, not just the island. He turned his head and saw that all the trees in the forest had come to life. The entire lush forest was suddenly filled with tree shadows. Just like the trees on the island, these trees with vines were swinging their vines, while those without vines were swinging their roots. It was as if they were thinking of ways to pull them down from the sky. The originally quiet forest was suddenly filled with rustling sounds. A tyrannical aura floated faintly in the air. What's going on? It's the spirit seed, Shining suddenly said. The spirit seed is born from the power of the original source. Of course, it can also create living beings. So it was the spirit seed that awakened them and gave them sentience. Could it be that the spirit seed is still here? Lone Moon was overjoyed. He looked down at the trees that had come back to life. But what about these trees? Furthermore, he was fine just now, so why did he suddenly attack them? The few of them flew a little high, and the trees seemed to understand that the vines could not reach them, so they slowly stopped attacking. Lone Moon had just heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that one of the trees on the island suddenly curled up its vines, pulled a fruit off the tree, and threw it directly towards them. Lone Moon dodged reflexively, and the fruit directly brushed past his side and fell into the water with a thud. In an instant, all the tree people seemed to have found a new way to attack. They all pulled the fruits from the trees and began to throw them towards them. Holy shit, these trees must have really become spirits. Definitely, right? You too. Hurry up and set up the array. Lone Moon subconsciously turned around and was just about to remind the two of them to set up a defensive array. Fruits! Xin Ying's eyes suddenly lit up, and she shouted, "Chef! They're coming in. Catch them quickly. Catch them quickly." "Yes, master. No problem, master." In the next moment, Chef's figure flashed across the sky like a shadow. He specially created more than 10 unshackled doppelgangers to catch the fruits that were thrown up from the ground one by one. Along the way, he also conveniently stuffed Shining onto his flying sword. Lone Moon, Motherf asterisk Kerr. Thus, the two of them happily played the game of catching fruits in the air as if they had harvested a harvest. All the fruits that were thrown over were caught by Chef without missing a single one. In less than 7 minutes, the storage bag was filled to the brim. "Master, what should we do if the storage bag is full?" "I still have more." Shining hurriedly handed over her own, and then pulled Lone Moon's. Father Nyo, I'll borrow yours for a while. Chef, on the right, on the right. That one is about to fall into the water. Chef, catch a few more of those yellow fruits. They're delicious. Chef, don't catch the green ones. They're definitely not ripe yet. Chef's figure instantly flew even faster. Yes, master. No problem, master. Directly from more than 10 doppelgangers, they transformed into more than 10. One batch caught the fruits, and another batch picked the fruits. That was called being busy in an orderly manner, very orderly. In any case, there was an entire forest of trees. Very soon, the other 2 storage bags were also full. Chef even directly opened up a small mystic realm of unknown origin. He opened up an entrance in the air and directly carried the fruits in like a maniac. He was busy alone, as if he was at the scene of the spring festival. Lone Moon. F*** King retard. Do you really think you're here to stock up? He really wanted to pretend that he didn't know these 2 fellows. The fruits that were being thrown over were also getting fewer and fewer at a speed visible to the naked eye. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Then, he threw out a wisp of immortal chi that turned into a rope. It directly tied up a small tree on the island that was as tall as a human and lifted it up. That small tree was obviously panicking. It waved its branches and roots and struggled frantically, but was instantly fixed in place by the immortal chi on the immortal rope. It could not resist at all as it was lifted up. In the next moment, all the trees in the forest stopped, as if frightened by this move of his. Even the act of throwing fruits stopped. The 2 who were harvesting immediately turned their heads and looked over at the same time. What are you looking at? Lone Moon glared back. That's enough from the 2 of you. You really want to carry all the fruits in the entire forest back. Did they remember what they were here for? The 2 of them exchanged a look and sighed together. Only then did they reluctantly close that small mystic realm. They turned their heads to look at the small sapling in his hand. Lone Moon carefully looked at the sapling in his hand. Although this tree had developed sentience, one look and he could tell that it did not know how to speak. So he directly conjured a seal and transferred a wisp of immortal chi into its sentience. Almost instantly, he felt a surge of anger surging up. Chapter 595. Lone Moon frowned and asked, "What are you? Why are you attacking us?" The tree shook its leaves. A moment later, an angry emotion was transmitted from its spirit consciousness into Lone Moon's consciousness. He tried to decipher it for a while before he understood what it meant. "Baddie, you want to capture my lord. Don't allow it. Chase him out. Who exactly is your my lord?" Lone Moon's heart jumped. Could it be the spirit seed? The spirit seed was really still in this forest. No other emotions came from the sapling. Lone Moon had no choice but to stop the spell and send the sapling back down. The trees in the forest saw that the sapling had returned and started to move again. A new round of harvest of fruits was about to begin. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He directly released his suppressive might to shock these trees. Indeed, trees needed to be frightened. Unfortunately, their spirit intelligence was not high. He could not ask for the location of the spirit seed. He could only conjure a seal with both hands. An array was formed instantly. Since he could not ask for it, he could only find it himself. In the next moment, a huge searching array appeared in the sky. The white array swept across the entire forest in an instant, searching for the remnant chi of the original source. In less than a moment, a response came from a few miles in front of them. Over there, Lone Moon pointed to the right. He immediately turned and flew in that direction. Chef followed immediately. He even found the right time to carry Shun-Ying back onto his sword. Lone Moon flew over and found a depression in the center of the forest. It looked like it had been smashed by something. There was a pit about 4 to 5 meters deep. There were all kinds of trees growing in the pit. They were luxuriant and grew towards the innermost area. It was as if they were using their leaves to hide something. He was speechless. Wasn't this a little too obvious? He was just about to land into the pit in the middle when he realized that the trees that he had shocked suddenly stretched out their roots to form a net. They stacked and covered a certain area in the middle. All right, he did not even need to find the location. The corner of Lomun's mouth twitched. He directly summoned several spirit swords. With sharp sword chi, they landed on the area covered by the tree roots. It stabbed into the tree roots, causing the surrounding trees to tremble. After a while, they retreated with rustling sounds. He flew down directly. Just as he was about to approach, the trees seemed to be anxious. They suddenly plucked the fruits from the branches and rolled into the pit. The other trees followed suit and shook the fruits from their branches into the hole. After a short while, the cave was filled with all kinds of fruits. Lomun, do you think fruits are omnipotent? If he filled it in, he wouldn't be able to see it. The eyes of the master and disciple behind him instantly lit up. Hey, that's enough, you too. Didn't you have enough just now? Lomun glared at them. He couldn't be bothered to go over. He waved his hand, and a spell was cast. In the next moment, the fruits in the cave floated up one by one, along with the dried leaves at the bottom of the cave. Among the many fruits, there was an eye-catching green color that was particularly eye-catching. This was it. He changed his hand seal, and the green object flew straight towards him. He waved his hand, and the other fruits all flew in Shun Ying's direction. They landed neatly in front of a certain foodie. Chef, collect them. Shun Ying's eyes lit up. She immediately gave Chef a look and continued to collect the fruits. Lomun then looked in front of him. The thing that was floating in the air was waving its leaves with all its might. He saw that this thing was long and thin. Its upper body was crispy green, and its lower body was snow white. It looked very much like an onion. The corner of his mouth twitched. No. Chef stood up after collecting the fruits. He corrected seriously, "This is garlic." Identifying vegetables was his specialty. Lomun frowned. Even garlic can become a spirit these days. You demons are too unpicky, aren't you? Let go of me. Let go of me. A small, sharp, and somewhat childish voice came from that garlic. Yo, it's a garlic demon that can only talk. Shining. Lomun turned to look at the foodie. Don't tell me this is a spirit seed. This was a freaking spirit seed in the foodie world. No. Shining shook her head. It must have been affected by the spirit seed. What's with the inexplicable feeling of relief? You bad people. Let go of me. The garlic demon was still struggling. Seeing that it could not escape from Lomun's spell, it waved its garlic leaves and cursed. Bastard. Bad people. Not only did you capture the Lord, you also want to capture me. Just you wait, It seemed to be anxious. It raised the white garlic head below, waved its leaves, and tore off the skin, revealing the white garlic. I'm going to spicy you to death. As it spoke, it forcefully extended its hand in the direction of their eyes. Lomun, I Ching, Shanning. Haha, this is really a scary threat. Oh, the corner of Lomun's mouth twitched. He pulled the garlic demon further away. Tell me, little garlic demon, who is the Lord you're talking about? Who's a little garlic? I'm clearly a garlic. The garlic demon tooted. It even waved its garlic head to emphasize the very spicy kind. You ugly bastard, if you know what's good for you, hurry up and let go of me. Otherwise, you'll regret it. What the heck? Who are you calling ugly bastards? Did you plant demons graduate from the same school as Radish? Try scolding me one more time. Do you believe that I won't throw you in a chef's pot? You bad people who bully the Lord. The garlic demon was completely unaware of the danger it was in. It continued to struggle and threaten. Just you wait. When I grow a little bigger, I'll definitely go and save the Lord. Oh, Lomun's eyes narrowed. He deliberately changed the topic and asked, You're just a weak little demon. You want to save your Lord? Do you know where it is? Oomph. It snorted coldly, waved its garlic leaves, and pointed at the volcano not far away. Don't think that I don't know. I've heard from the little trees on the mountain that you've captured the adults and brought them to the flame mountain. Just you wait. When I've cultivated to the point where I'm not afraid of fire, I'll definitely go and save it. Don't think that you can get the Lord just like that. You ugly bastards don't even have the right to serve the Lord. Flame Mountain, Lone Moon, and I Ching exchanged a look. They turned to look at the volcano not far away. It was still spewing sparks from time to time. So the spirit seed was there? No wonder they didn't sense it before. Let's go. To the volcano. Lone Moon was just about to fly on his sword. Wait! I Ching suddenly reached out and pulled him back. He shook his head and looked at the sky. Let's eat. If they didn't eat now, they would miss it. Nothing was more important than Master. Lone Moon, can you be this punctual when you do other things? But it was indeed too late. What's more, if the spirit seed was really there, it wouldn't be able to escape. He had no choice but to stop. He looked at the garlic demon in his hand and narrowed his eyes. Then he nodded and said, I can eat, but I want to eat garlic shrimp, garlic crab, garlic white meat, garlic flower shell, garlic white exploding spirit beast. I Ching, shunning, the garlic demon. Are you a demon? Chapter 596. While they were waiting for their meals, Lone Moon managed to get the information he needed from the garlic demon. The lore that it mentioned was indeed the spirit seed. All the tree demons in the forest, including the garlic demon, were influenced by the spirit seed to turn into spirits. Among all the trees, the garlic demon was the first to become sentient. That was why all the trees in the forest listened to its commands. But not long ago, the spirit seed was suddenly captured by a demon from outside. In order to snatch the spirit seed back, the trees chased after the demon and forced it into the volcano. The trees were afraid of fire and did not dare to come close. They could only wait there and not let the demon come out. But this did not seem to be of much use. At that moment, the two sides were a stalemate. So, it looks like the spirit seed has already taken human form. Lone Moon frowned as he recalled the garlic demon's description. He looked at Shunning and said, not only can the spirit seed take human form, it can also take human form. It can. Shunning nodded. The spirit seed has sentience to begin with. It has a human form, doesn't it? Then why didn't you say so earlier? The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He picked up the pace of clearing the bowls and chopsticks. Hurry up and find someone. Only then did they fly towards the volcano. The closer they got to the mouth of the volcano, the higher the temperature. Even he could feel a hint of heat. The few of them indeed felt a hint of familiar, original chi. But because the thick smell of lava diluted this aura, there was also a hint of demonic chi in it. Lone Moon immediately set up an isolation array around the three of them. Instantly, the surrounding heat was swept away. He turned back and reminded them, look at the demonic chi in the volcano. It must be a high-level demon. Be careful. With that said, he flew in. Indeed, once they entered the volcano, they were greeted by the intertwining demonic chi and original chi. Their surroundings were a fiery red. From time to time, lava would spurt out. The few of them dodged and flew towards the bottom of the volcano, following the direction of the original chi. The deeper they flew, the more spacious their surroundings became. Moreover, thick smoke billowed and visibility became very low. Master this rock wall. I Ching suddenly spoke. Lone Moon turned and saw that there were many caves in the inner walls of the volcano. They seemed to have been specially carved out. His heart sank. Holy shit, the demon that took the spirit seed wouldn't have dug a hole and escaped, would it? The garlic monster was indeed unreliable. There's demonic chi and the aura of the original source on it. I Ching added. It was obvious that it had been opened by that demon. F***CK. Lone Moon cursed. There were so many caves. Where are they going to start? Let's choose the cave with the thickest aura and enter. Do you want to go in? Shunning tilted her head and looked back at him. Nonsense. Lone Moon replied subconsciously. If we don't chase after it, will the spirit seed jump out on its own? Before he could finish his words, he suddenly heard a rumbling sound from below. Something smashed into the ground, and instantly, the tallest pillar of lava in the middle collapsed. Two silhouettes instantly appeared below, and instantly, demonic chi surged up to the sky. It jumped out. Shunning pointed down and replied, Lone Moon, I Ching, it really came out by itself. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He looked down and saw two men, one tall and one short. The shorter one was a young man, and he had a terrified expression on his face. The taller one was dressed in a dark green robe and his body was very muscular. Faintly, one could see the bulging muscles under his clothes. He was holding the young man's collar and raising his fist to punch the young man's face. The most important thing was that from a moment the two of them appeared, the thick original source aura and demonic chi instantly filled the entire volcano. The burly man seemed to be extremely angry. He punched the young man over and over again. With every punch, the original source chi weakened a little, and the demonic chi on the burly man's body became thicker. That's the spirit seed? Lone Moon turned to look at Shunning. Yes, it is. Shunning nodded affirmatively. Seeing that the young man's aura was getting weaker and weaker, the burly man suddenly pressed one hand on the young man's forehead. In an instant, the young man's original source, chi, surged towards the burly man. He was absorbing the original source. Lone Moon's heart sank. He shouted, "Demon, stop!" Shunning was stunned. Just as she was about to say something, "Father Nyo," but Lone Moon had already flown over. At the same time, a ray of sword chi swept towards the burly man. As if sensing danger, the burly man turned around. There was still a murderous look in his eyes, but he suddenly froze. In the next moment, the burly man was sent flying with a loud bang and smashed into the ground. Lone Moon used a spell and fixed the burly man on the ground. He turned to look at the young man on the ground. He was already on the verge of death. His body was covered with wounds. Lone Moon frowned. He used a water elemental healing spell. Only then did the burly man feel a little better. The original source chi on the young man's body also slowly stabilized. But he looked at the few of them with even more fear. He even shrank back. "Don't worry," Lone Moon spoke up to comfort him. "We're here to bring you back." The fear in the young man's eyes did not disappear. Instead, he looked at Lone Moon even more warily. But because of the aura around Lone Moon, he did not dare to move. Instead, the burly man who was sent flying looked furious. He wanted to rush over unwillingly, but he was fixed in place. No matter how many times he tried, he could not get up. He could only stare fixedly in Lone Moon's direction, looking like he wanted to pounce over. Lone Moon glanced at it. Instantly, the sword chi on his body pressed down even more. "Evil creature, how dare you touch the spirit seed?" Fortunately, they had arrived quickly. Otherwise, the chi of the original source on the other party's body would have been sucked dry. The burly man was stunned. A hint of madness flashed across his face. He struggled even harder. His mouth moved as if he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Once again, he was suppressed by the sword chi. Lone Moon frowned. The strange thing was that he could not see through the burly man's true form. Why were the demons in the Void Land so strange? He ignored it and turned back to look at the young man. After such a big circle, he finally found the spirit seed. He did not care whether the young man was willing or not. He directly picked him up and looked at Shunning. "When can we open the plane gate and go back?" He had to complete his mission first. "Tomorrow," Shun-Ing replied. "Then let's go out first." Lone Moon then flew up on his sword, planning to leave the volcano. Shun-Ing turned to look at the burly man on the ground. Suddenly, she reached out and pulled him up. "Chef, bring him along." I Ching hesitated, but still obediently picked him up. "Yes, master. Why are you still bringing this demon?" Lone Moon turned back to look at her. To be able to survive in this volcano for so long, he must be fire elemental. It would be fine to leave him alone. Shunning moved her lips, about to say something. "Forget it." Lone Moon directly turned his head away. He did not care too much. "Remember to open the plane gate on time tomorrow. I've had enough of this stupid place." Only then did they fly all the way out and directly landed on the flat ground in the middle of the forest outside. The garlic demon from before had not left. When saw the few of them flying out, its garlic leaves straightened up. Without waiting for them to land on the ground, it immediately hopped towards them, its voice full of excitement. "My lord, you're finally back." With that said, it jumped up and plunged head first into the hands of the burly man beside Chef. "Lord, I missed you so much." "Huh? I Ching, Lone Moon, holy shit. What the hell was that?" For Alp. Chapter 597. What's going on? He's a spirit seed? Lone Moon stared blankly at the burly man. How is this possible? The burly man was clearly covered in demonic chi. There was not a hint of the aura of the original source on him. Moreover, a spirit seed that had just transformed looked like this. Wasn't it a little too much nutrition? Chef was shocked as well. He raised his hand to dispel the spell on Lone Moon's body. He released his divine perception to take a closer look, only to discover that the demonic aura on Lone Moon's body was very faint. His expression darkened. This demonic aura shouldn't be his. As he spoke, he immediately formed a seal and tapped on the other party's forehead. Almost instantly, all the demonic aura in his body dissipated. Like a puncture balloon, it flattened out with a hiss. His originally sturdy figure also began to shrink, as if he had returned to his youth. He directly transformed from a brawny man that was more than 8 meters tall into a little being that didn't even reach his waist. In an instant, the origin energy rushed over, several times denser than the youth's. He really was a spirit seed. My lord, what happened to you? The garlic demon at the side was shocked. It turned around and waved its garlic leaves at Chef. What did you do to His Excellency? I'm just returning to my original appearance. His previous appearance was only a result of his demon chi. The spirit seed, who had already turned into a child, looked at his own body, which had shrunk a few times. Then, he looked up at Lone Moon. Suddenly, he felt a lump in his throat. In the next moment, he started crying. Wah! His cries were heart-wrenching and extremely wronged. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He had yet to recover from the image of the muscular man. Strangely, he felt guilty. Why are you crying? Sir, don't cry. Don't cry. The garlic demon panicked. He waved his garlic leaves and comforted her. Don't worry. If they dare to bully you, I'll spice them to death. As he said that, he endured the pain and broke off a large garlic and threw it at the 3 of them. You're not allowed to spit them. The spirit seed suddenly reacted and opened its arms to block in front of it. My lord, the garlic demon was taken aback. The spirit seed turned around and hugged Lone Moon, who was behind it. It cried out pitifully, Daddy. Huh? Shun, Ing. I Ching, Lone Moon. What the hell? W, little brat. Don't call me that. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He wanted to push the person on his lap away, but the other party hugged him even tighter. As she hugged his thigh, she raised her teary little face and sniffled as she asked, Wah, Daddy, don't you want me anymore? Who doesn't want it? Who are you calling Dad? Daddy, shut up and stop shouting. Wait a minute. He turned to glare at the master and disciple beside him. Why are you two looking at a scumbag who abandoned his wife and son? Don't you two know that I don't have children? The master and disciple looked at each other and replied in unison, I'm not sure. Your sister. Lone Moon's anger flared up. He watched as the child cried, even more miserably. Lone Moon's Dharma robes were almost wet from his tears. No matter how he pushed the child off, the child continued to climb up, as if clinging to him. What are you looking at? Hurry up and help. If you want next month's food allowance, hurry up and drag him down. The two then took a step forward and reached out to pull away the spirit seed on his leg. Shining seemed to have thought of something. She looked up and asked that, Father Nyo, is it convenient for me to ask, who is the child's mother? You shut. Before he could finish a sentence, the child suddenly plunged into Shun Ying's arms and cried out, Mommy! Lone Moon, Shun Ying, I Ching. The next moment, Chef's expression darkened. With a swoosh, he pulled out his long sword and said word by word, Master, I don't think this person is a spirit seed. Kill him. Who is he calling Mommy? Lone Moon guessed that the spirit seed called him that because it recognized their identities as managers. He was a plain spirit seed to begin with. It was normal for him to sense the aura of a manager. What's more, he had just taken human form and was not considered mature. What's more, there was only an unreliable garlic demon by his side. It was normal for him to instinctively call a manager the closest person. The only abnormal thing was the way he addressed Chef. Second brother. What the hell was second brother? Master, can we really not kill this? Chef turned and asked seriously, "Why don't we cut off a few legs? They can grow back anyway. The kind that had to be cut once a month." Shinning, Lo Moon, all right, all right, all right. Don't bully the child. It was rare to see Chef being humiliated. Lone Moon hurriedly stepped forward and pulled the spirit seed child over. He scanned him from head to toe. He looked like a fair and chubby child. Why did he grow up to be so crippled? Speak, little spirit seed. What exactly happened? Who is this fellow? He pointed to the young man beside him who was still covered in original chi. He only noticed the original chi on his body earlier. Now that he took a closer look, he realized that this young man was indeed a demon beast. He directly raised his hand and conjured seal. In an instant, the other party turned into a demon beast with fiery red scales all over its body. Although it was a high-level demon beast, it seemed to be seriously injured. Its original form looked much smaller than a human's. "He's a bad guy. He wants to eat me." The spirit seed immediately puffed up its little face and said angrily, "When the baby fell asleep, he wanted to eat me. So I ate him too." "Eat?" Lone Moon hesitated for a moment. He thought of how the spirit seed looked just now. Was he referring to the demonic chi? No wonder he was covered in demonic chi just now. It turned out that he had absorbed it from this demon beast. And the original chi on the demon beast's body obviously came from the spirit seed. So, the demon beast had absorbed the original chi on his body. Was he going to absorb its demonic chi back? He was really not at a disadvantage. No wonder this demon beast still looked so frightened. The demonic chi on its body was pitifully little. "You little one, you don't want to be taken advantage of. Where did you learn that from?" Lone Moon asked subconsciously. As soon as he finished speaking, a certain master and disciple both turned to look at him. "What are you looking at?" He glared back. "What has it got to do with me? Do they really think I'm his father?" "Ching. Haha, as long as you're happy." Shining, on the other hand, tilted her head and glanced at the spirit seed child. She looked like she was thinking about something. Could it be, now that the spirit seed was found, Shun Ing and the others did not waste any more time? They planned to go back early the next morning. Lone Moon forced out the original chi from the demon beast's body and returned it to the spirit seed. Then, he threw it back into the volcano. The garlic demon was not easy to deal with. It held onto the spirit seed tightly and did not let them go. It guarded against them as if they were thieves. In a panic, it would even throw garlic at them. What's more, it was the first complete living creature that the spirit seed had created. It was not good to just leave it in the void. So Lone Moon could only create a flower pot and put the garlic demon inside. He let the spirit seed carry it back. Anyway, he could just leave it to Milu to deal with. Once the time was up, Shunning opened the plane gate. In the blink of an eye, they were already back in the divine realm. Chapter 598. You're back. The moment they landed, they saw Milu sitting on the sofa in a suit, smiling warmly at them, as if he had been waiting for a long time. That was fast. Little Ing is indeed Little Ing. She found the spirit seed so quickly. You gave him access to the divine realm? Lone Moon turned to look at Shunning. Shunning nodded. The last time. Lone Moon frowned. Even Chef's expression darkened. Were they that close? Mila put down the tea in his hand and walked over, still smiling warmly. His gaze swept across the child hugging a flower pot at the side, stunned. The spirit seed has transformed so quickly. As he spoke, he reached over. But the little spirit seed suddenly took a step back and avoided his hand. It slipped behind Lone Moon and looked warily at the person in front of it. It even tugged at Lone Moon's robe. "Daddy." The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He directly pulled it out from behind him and pointed at Milo. "This is your daddy." The little spirit seed was stunned. It glanced at Lone Moon and then at Milo, not knowing what to do. Shining at the side stepped forward and said, "Flower, what's the result?" Mili's face stiffened. "Littling, can't you call me by my real name?" "No." He sighed and gave her a really helpless look. He shrugged and said, "I've already asked, but I didn't get much information. The other party doesn't seem to know much either." So, Shen Ying's eyes narrowed. You came empty-handed? Air. Milu stiffened and smiled even more brightly. Littling, don't say that. At least I've confirmed that your previous guess was not wrong. That is indeed real. Is that so? Shuning suddenly smiled. Flower, we haven't seen each other for so long. Have you forgotten what I said before? No. No. Mila paled. Wait. Lone Moon was getting more and more confused. He could not help but interrupt. What are the two of you talking about? Why did it sound like a deal had failed? Shuning took a deep breath and turned to the two. Wait a moment. I'll fulfill my previous promise. What promise? Before the two of them could react, Shuning was already walking toward them. Suddenly, it was as if a huge aura filled the entire divine realm. She directly grabbed Mi Li's collar and walked toward the empty space in front. Wait a minute, littling. Are you for real? Mi Li's originally perfect and gentle smile instantly collapsed completely. His eyes widened in fear. What do you want to do? You promised Sister Jing that you wouldn't hit me. What you're doing isn't right, littling. How could you bear to hurt me? We're your only classmates. Littling, I was wrong. I was really wrong. But she doesn't know, and there's nothing I can do. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Calm down, littling. Wait, you can't kick there. Oh. Shuning seemed to be so angry that she punched him again and again. She was very serious, and she purposely aimed at her opponent's face. Even the entire divine realm rumbled and shook. Mi Li's elegance and gentleness were all gone. For a moment, the entire divine realm was filled with his tragic cries of pain. Lone Moon, the spectator who didn't know the truth, stared blankly. He glanced at the person who was beaten up beyond recognition and couldn't help but nudge Chef beside him. He subconsciously asked, Don't you think that Shuning is beating him a little too hard? They were classmates after all. I don't think so, I Ching answered without hesitation. Then, he directly went over and took out a sword. Master, you'll hurt your hand easily if you keep doing this. Why don't you use a sword? Lone Moon, Chef was hitting him when he was down, wasn't he definitely? Indeed, when dealing with a love rival, even the most principled people would abandon their morals. He had to say that Chef was really too much. Hence, he directly took out his storage bag and handed it over. If you don't have enough swords, I still have more here. Don't stand on ceremony. Please beat him to death. Milu, are you all demons? Oh, greater than over equal to. Shen Ying's one-sided beating lasted for a whole hour. Seeing that the entire divine realm was about to collapse, she finally stopped. Mi Li's face was already swollen like a pig's head. There wasn't a single piece of undamaged skin on his body. He lay on the ground and looked at the three of them with tears in his eyes. As he sobbed, he groaned disgustingly. Littling, I've been completely sincere to you. How can you bear to treat me like this? Shen Ying's expression turned cold. She snorted. Is your skin still itchy? It's not itchy anymore. It's not itchy anymore. His whole body trembled. He immediately kept that disgusting expression and sucked in air. You're still as violent as before. You beat me up whenever you don't agree with me. He suddenly stopped mid-sentence. He reached out and touched his seriously deformed face. He took out a mirror from somewhere and looked at himself. Instantly, he let out a scream. My face. His expression changed. Instantly, he looked like the sky was falling. As he touched that pig's head, he pointed angrily at the few of them and said, You! How can you bear to hurt my beautiful face? Lone Moon, I Ching, damn it. They wanted to hit him too. What was going on? Littling, you're too much. You're jealous. You're actually targeting my face. Perhaps because he was beaten into his original form, Mila no longer looked like the elegant young master he was just now. He completely let go of his true nature. He took out a small white instrument from somewhere. As he looked at himself in the mirror, he nervously repaired that pig's head. You're injured so badly. I don't know how many hours it'll take to heal. I can only cover it up. Littling, do you have any concealer? Shut up. Shuning glared at him. If you don't have any concealer, foundation will do. Do you want to die? He then regretfully shut his mouth. He turned and took out a huge makeup bag. He began to fiddle with it. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He could not help but look at Shuning. Will he always be like this? Shuning nodded. She thought of something and added, "Usually he'll be like this after he loses his disguise. Before he loses his disguise, he can still pretend." Indeed, the people from the management committee are a bunch of lunatics. Shining seemed to think of something. Her expression darkened. In the past, when we went out on missions in school, he would often hide in a corner to touch up his makeup halfway through. Not only did he make her have to finish the task of 2 people, she even had to go back and fish him up. Yet she had no choice but to fish him up. He turned around and snitched on her sister. The reason she could graduate from the management committee so quickly was partly because she was disgusted by him. Then what was the promise that Master mentioned just now? I Ching could not help but ask. Shun Ying's expression darkened. After a while, she said word by word, "When I graduated, I swore that I would beat him up every time I see him." She still owed him a beating previously. She would beat him up again when his face recovered. I Ching, Lone Moon, all right, this was very shunning. Lone Moon was starting to doubt the words of those people from the management committee. These two did not seem to be in love with each other. They seemed to be enemies. It was not easy for Mi Lu to survive until now. Chapter 599. Mi Lu touched up his makeup for a whole 2 hours, and was even flattered halfway through, before he hurriedly used his assistant's ability to heal the wounds on his face. He even complained along the way that it would be bad for his skin, so much that Lone Moon wanted to beat him up again. It could be said that after taking off that layer of suave young master skin, he had completely let go of himself. To put it nicely, he had returned to being an exquisite boy, suddenly wanted to light a candle for the manager of his plane. He doesn't have a manager. Shining replied casually. What? Lone Moon and I Ching were stunned. An assistant without a manager? The two were about to ask, when Shining had already stepped forward, kicked the person on the ground, and asked, "What exactly did you tell my sister?" What else could I say? Mi Lu protected his face like a baby. Before answering, "I just told her honestly about that big Tao organization you mentioned the last time." "You told my sister." Shining clenched her fists. No. He hurriedly added, taking a step back. "How could I say it was you? I could only say that I encountered it. She asked around and said that there was no monitor there, but she did not tell me what the monitor was exactly." Shining frowned, scanning Mi Lu from head to toe. The other party trembled, immediately covering his face, and took a step back. "Stop hitting me." He hurriedly said, "You know your sister too. If she doesn't want to say, no one can ask her. I've already tried my best. It's not a breach of contract." Breach of contract? Lone Moon was stunned for a moment, exchanging a look with Chef. Did Shun Ying go to the end of the void to find the spirit seed, just to let Mi Lu ask Shun Jing about the monitor? How scared was he of his sister? "What use do I have you?" Shun Ying rolled her eyes. "I've always been this useless." Mi Lu replied with a, "Is this the first day you know me?" expression, not ashamed but proud. She wanted to hit him even more. All right. Things are already like this. At most, I'll send more boxes of cosmetics to Little Ling in the future as compensation. How about that? Get lost. You damn sissy. All right, then I'll get lost." Mi Lu very sensibly turned and opened the plane gate. He thought for a moment and turned back to walk in Lone Moon's direction. "Then I'll take the spirit seed away first." As he spoke, he reached out to grab the child with the spirit seed, but the child suddenly dodging his hand and hiding behind Lone Moon's back. He looked at Mi Lu warily and unhappily, then raised his head to look at Lone Moon and said pitifully, "Daddy, I don't want to go with him." Lone Moon sighed and squatted down to touch his head. Be good. You belong to his world. Go back with him." "No." Perhaps because Mi Lu was only an assistant and not a manager, the child was not close to him, and it seemed to be scared out of its wits for a moment, even throwing away the flower pot containing the garlic demon. Once again avoiding Mi Li's hand, it turned and ran towards Shun Ying, hugging her leg and crying out loud, "Wah, I don't want to go. Don't throw me away." Was he trying to pin it on them? Why is it even more disobedient after transforming? Mi Lu sighed and had no choice but to turn and walk over. "You're making me look like a human trafficker." Mommy, the spirit seed cried even more sadly, clutching tightly onto the corner of Shun Ying's clothes. Mommy? Daddy? Milu paused, his eyes widened in shock as he swept a glance at Shun Ying and Lone Moon. His eyes narrowed for a moment before he said in a voice that was full of twists and turns, "Oh, no wonder you don't dare to ask Sister Jing personally." So it's Lone Moon and I Ching's faces darkened at the same time. "You can get lost now. Don't let your imagination run wild." All right. His gaze became even more ambiguous as he pushed Lone Moon and said, "I'll just ask one thing. Is your third leg all right?" Lone Moon, Shunning, Chef had already pulled out his sword. Indeed, it was better to kill him. "I'm leaving." Seeing that the few of them were about to fly into a rage, Milu immediately walked over quickly, reaching out to grab the child's hand, and was just about to drag him away. "Wait!" Shunning suddenly reached out to stop him. "What's the matter?" Milu faltered, his eyes curved as he thought of something. "Can't bear to part with a handsome man like me?" Shun Ying's expression darkened. "You can leave, but he can't." "Why?" He was stunned. "You're not going back on your word, are you?" Hey, Liling, you can't do this. Even if you're jealous of my beauty, you can't keep the spirit seed. This isn't a joke." "Who said I was joking with you?" Shun Ying's eyes narrowed as she looked down at the child who was still clutching tightly onto the corner of her clothes, crying so hard that he was hiccuping. "We agreed before that you'd help me figure out the matters regarding monitors. I'd help you find the spirit seed. In the end, you didn't complete it, so the deal wasn't made." "Littling," he frowned and said with some seriousness, "you clearly know how important the spirit seed is to the plane, and he's already transformed now. If he leaves the plane for too long, I'm afraid there will be unforeseen changes. He can't stay. What if I insist on keeping him?" "Littling," Milu was getting anxious. "His sentience hasn't fully matured. It's only because you're managers that he wants to get close to you. You can't be emotional." "Oh." She reached out to touch the child's head and continued, "But I'm not a manager." "Huh?" He faltered for a moment. Something flashed across his face, but he immediately recovered and frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Sister Jing told me long ago that you took over the plane. How can you not be a manager? Anyway, he can't stay here. He has to go back with me immediately." Shun Ying's expression darkened. "What if I insist on not giving it?" "Littling, don't mess around." Some anger appeared on Mi Li's face. After a while, he thought of something. He raised his voice and threatened, "If you really do that, then I can only tell Sister Jing everything. Don't blame me." Shun Ying's expression darkened. She stared straight at him and did not speak for a long while. Mi Li's expression became even more smug. He smiled and said, "All right, Littling, stop messing around. Directly give the spirit." "So, this has something to do with my sister too," Shun Ying suddenly said. "Huh?" Milu faltered. "You didn't ask my sister about monitors at all." Shun Ying's expression darkened even more. She stared straight into his eyes and said, "No, I should say from the start, you didn't want me to contact my sister. This can only be possible. This so-called monitor is also related to me." Milu stiffened. "The spirit seed is indeed not yours. Your motive is also not entirely for him." Shining pushed the child towards the two people behind her, took a step forward and said, "Milu, you tricked us into going to the end of the void. What exactly do you want?" He stood rooted to the ground, the teasing and giggling expression on his face disappearing instantly. After a while, he sighed and said helplessly, "Littling, how can you trick me like this?" Indeed, it was too difficult to lie to a top student. "Actually, you don't have to say any more." Shining raised her hand to stop him from speaking, said directly, "Anyway, what you're saying isn't the truth. I'll ask directly." With that said, she directly opened the communication device on her wristband. "Huh?" Chapter 600. "Wait, Littling." Milu paled. He wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Shining directly called Shunjing. Almost in the next second, a light screen popped up. A face that looked 80% similar to Shun Ying's appeared on it. "Littling, what's the matter? It's rare to see you contact me on your own." Shun Jing's voice came instantly. She swept a glance over. Her gaze froze when she saw Mi Lu at the side. Then after a while, it melted again. Yo, Hua is here too. Are you guys having class reunion? Hi, Sister Jing. Milu raised his hand shakily, his smile a little forced. Sister, can you come over when you're free? Shun Ying said directly. I have something to ask you in person. Why are you? Shin Jing was just about to ask what happened when she glanced at Milu, seeming to have thought of something. Her expression changed before she said, All right, wait for me. I'll come over right away. The screen flashed and turned off immediately. Mili's face paled even more. You guys chat. I'll go back first. With that said, he immediately turned to open the plane gate, but was pulled back by Shun Ying. What's the hurry? Little Ying, don't be like this. You'll really die. Mili's entire being was not good. He looked like he was about to cry. Your sister will really beat me to death. But it was already too late. A white light flashed in front of them. Shun Jing directly walked out of the plane gate. Little Ying, why? Before she could finish in the next moment, Milu was like a wild horse out of control, breaking free from Shun Ying's hand in the next moment, charging towards Shun Jing. Then with a bang, he knelt on the ground with all his limbs on the ground, his voice sonorous and loud. Sister Jing, I was wrong. Lone Moon, I Ching, Shanning, this strong desire to live. Shun Jing lowered her head and glanced at him. She asked instinctively, Is your leg broken? Milu shuddered, then chuckled as he replied, No, Sister Jing. I just feel that looking at you all kneeling, you look especially beautiful. Really? The three of them. Where's his integrity? What happened? Shun Jing looked up at Shun Ying and the others. The few of them exchanged glances before Shun Ying stepped forward and asked, Big sister, do you know what a monitor is? Shun Jing was shocked, and her eyes widened. How did you know? She thought of something and lowered her head to look at Milu. What did you say? Milu shuddered violently and lay lower. He tricked us into going to the Void Land. Shun Ying replied, Land of the Void. Shun Jing thought for a moment. After a while, she thought of something and glared at the person on the ground. Her eyes instantly turned red, and she said word by word, You tricked her into participating in the qualification trial. For a moment, the surrounding air stagnated. It was as if some terrifying energy had swept across the entire deity realm. Shun Jing seemed to have been ignited, and her anger immediately burned fiercely. The entire god territory shook, and the ground started to crack inch by inch, as if it would collapse in the next moment. Calm down. Sister Jing, listen to me. Isn't she fine now? Milu advised while shivering. Being angry isn't good for the body. It's easy to get wrinkles. Besides, this is her god territory, Sister Jean. Sister. Seeing that the god territory was about to collapse, Shun Ying couldn't help but call out. Shun Jing's anger was then suppressed a little. She picked up the person on the ground and waved her hand to open a special door. She said, You guys wait for half an hour first. We'll talk when you come back. With that said, she dragged Milu inside. Seeing that the door was about to close, they could faintly hear Mili's trembling voice begging for mercy. Sister Jing, please don't hit my face. Oh, in the next moment, the door had already closed. Only a faint aura of chaos was left at the scene. Lone Moon and I Ching. They were indeed sisters, weren't they? Even the way they beat people up was so similar. Shun Ying, the door that Sister Jing opened just now. Lone Moon couldn't help but ask, Don't tell me it leads to chaos. Shun Ying nodded. Lone Moon stiffened. Why could she open the entrance to chaos so easily? When he took over the plane previously, he had already used all his strength to deal with a beast of chaos. They were both managers, but the difference was too big. Indeed, they were from a cheat family. Shun Jing said to wait for half an hour, but they waited for a whole hour for each other. Neither of them had come out of chaos. Yet the entire divine realm fluctuated from time to time. Even the two plane trees shook from time to time, as if they were hit by something. What's more, the flow of time and chaos was different from that of the plane. The few of them didn't dare to think how long Shun Jing had beaten Milu up for. Anyway, 2 hours later, they saw Shun Jing open the door of chaos once again and walk back. She had already changed her clothes, but they didn't see the other person behind her. "Where's Milo?" Lone Moon asked subconsciously. "What? Are you very concerned about him?" Shenjing's cold gaze swept over instantly. Lone Moon stiffened instantly. He immediately stood in line. "No, no." Shenjing then turned and sat on the sofa that was conjured. She drank a mouthful of tea before replying. "Humph. That bastard won't die for now." "Sister, what exactly is a monitor?" Shining also sat down and asked, "Why did Hua Hua trick me into going to Voidland? What's the qualification trial you were talking about?" She frowned instantly and turned to look at Shuning with a look of exasperation. Her anger instantly burned over. "You too. Didn't you always hate him the most when you were young? Why did you go just because he asked you to? Do you have any brains?" Shen Ying habitually cowered. "I was wrong. Luckily this time I didn't really trigger the trial, otherwise." Her expression darkened, as if thinking of something dangerous. Her palm tightened, and with a crack, the teacup in her hand instantly turned into powder. "Sister Jing." Lone Moon couldn't help but ask, "Then what exactly is a monitor?" Her gaze darkened. After a while, she sighed and said slowly, "A monitor is a monitor of the plane management. A person in charge of monitoring and judging the actions of the various plane managers." Monitor managers. The three of them were shocked at the same time. "Why?" Shun Jing laughed. "Do you think that managers are invincible? Monitors are the only people who can infinitely pass through various planes and will not be repelled by any plane." She continued, "The ability of a monitor is usually above that of a manager. They are not responsible for the stability of the plane, but only for assessing the actions of each manager. Planes cannot invade each other. Managers can chase out invaders and maintain the stability of the plane. But if the invader is also a manager, then the situation is different." She frowned. "And the manager and the plane are symbiotic. As long as the plane is not destroyed, the manager will not die. Not every plane will be invaded. After a long life, there will always be a few who want to create trouble. The existence of monitors is to limit such situations." Shun Jing explained. "If we say that the manager exists to maintain the stability of the plane, then monitors exist to maintain the stability of the manager. They are responsible for monitoring and examining all the managers, and when there are intrusions, they will intervene and help to choose a new manager to succeed." She turned to look at the three of them. "Milu is a monitor." Lone Moon and I Ching were both stunned. "What? That's sissy." "Sister." Shining was not surprised. She looked directly at Shun Jing and asked, "What about you?" Shun Jing was stunned. She laughed softly. "Me too." Chapter 601. Elder Sister Shun, are there many monitors like you? Lone Moon couldn't help but ask. "How is that possible?" Shining glanced at him and said, "Up till now, other than me, I've only seen one monitor, Mila." "Wait a minute. Forget about Xinjing. Milu is really a monitor?" This was not logical. With that weak look of his, when he was beaten up by Shuning just now, he didn't even have the strength to retaliate. And the aura on him was even weaker than an ordinary assistant. "Stupid. Do you really think Milu is very weak?" Shinjing glanced at them before explaining, "Each monitor's abilities have their own strengths, and Mili's forte isn't in terms of individual combat power, but his affinity with the various planes is stronger than any other." She took a sip of tea before continuing, "Why do you think he doesn't need a plane pass, or even an invitation to come and go from your plane so easily?" She glanced at the few of them. "That's because your plane has acknowledged the existence of monitors from the start. Even if you're managers, as long as you are still within the boundaries of the plane, if you really fight, you won't be able to hurt him at all. So is this the reason why she deliberately dragged me, Lu, to chaos to beat him up? He thought she was afraid of destroying the divine realm, so it was just to beat him up more? That's not right." Lone Moon suddenly thought of something. "Then what about Shunning? Didn't Shunning happily beat him up just now?" The power of a manager came from the plane itself, so they couldn't hurt a monitor that was acknowledged by the plane. Then how did Shunning do it just now? Shinjing's eyes darkened. Then she looked at Shuning and said, "Little Ling, you are more special." She frowned, as if thinking of a difficult problem. After you came to this plane, your body has changed, so you have abilities that surpass managers. I'm a monitor too? Shining tilted her head. I thought so too in the past. Shun Jing frowned. As if thinking of something, she continued asking, "Let's not talk about this first. You guys tell me honestly. What exactly happened during this period? Why did Milu suddenly want to send you to the qualification trial? And how did you guys know about the existence of monitors?" The three of them stiffened, exchanged a look, and started looking at the sky and the ground. "Sit up straight and tell me the truth." Shinjing's voice was cold. The three of them shuddered and sat up straight. Even the kid beside them unconsciously straightened his back. Then they all turned to look at Father Nyo, the spokesperson in the middle. "Shit, why me again?" The corner of Lomun's mouth twitched. He took a deep breath and forced himself to speak. He recounted everything that had happened to the Big Tao organization in full detail. They only hid the fact that Shan Ying had already handed the plane over to them. Whatever. He would hide it for as long as he could. There would be a beating anyway, so it was better to do it later than earlier. Big Tao organization. Shen Jing frowned. Their allies are all from the immortal spirit plane? Yes. Lone Moon thought about it carefully before nodding. Those people's planes are indeed the same as ours, belonging to the immortal spirit plane. That was why they dared to attack those managers and planes that they could not join. Because their powers were similar, it was easier to absorb them. There's actually such an organization. Shen Jing's frown deepened. Though she still had planes to manage, and it was normal that she did not notice, but why didn't Mila notice either? Could it be because of Little Ing? Thinking of something, she turned to look at Shun Ing. No wonder Milu would trick you into entering the Void Land. What did she mean? The three of them were confused. Under normal circumstances, monitors would not meet each other. She sighed, but her frown deepened. There's a limit to the number of planes we can sense. If there's already an overseer in a certain area, even if there's another person who wants to explore it, they'll subconsciously ignore that area. So it's impossible for two monitors to appear in the same plane area. You mean? Lone Moon faltered and instantly figured something out. Those planes in the Big Tao organization, it's possible that monitors have been there before. That's why you and me know nothing about them. She nodded. But there's no one there. Back then, they had seen many managers, but none of them were as terrifyingly strong as Shinjing. Shun Jing did not speak, only turning to look at Shun Ing. Shun Ing? Lone Moon faltered. Mila thinks that Shun Ing is a monitor too? She nodded. That's not right. He thought of something and became even more confused. Didn't you say that monitors cannot meet each other? Let's not talk about whether Shun Ing is one or not. What's going on with you and Milu? I knew him before I became a monitor. Then Shun Ing. To be precise, Milu thinks that Little Ing is a trainee monitor. Her voice instantly turned cold as she continued. Little Ying's power is special, different from other managers. Milu probably knew about the Big Tao organization and thought that she also had the possibility of becoming a monitor. That's why he tricked Little Ing into coming to the Void Land to undergo the qualification trial. Only those who passed the test could become true monitors. Just like me back then. The three of them faltered. Even Shun Ing was stunned for a moment. She stared straight at her. As if recalling something, she even stopped chewing on her fruit. What exactly is the qualification trial? Chef asked. This varies from person to person. Shun Jing's hand holding the cup tightened. Her eyes darkened before she continued. Every monitor's trial is different, but even if you're a manager at the start, it's very difficult to pass. Back then, my trial was also at the Void Land. I barely survived before I found what I lost and came back from there. Milo, that bastard, he probably thought that your trial would be there too. That's why he lured you there. Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. The Void Land was indeed very chaotic, but it was just finding something. With Shun Jing's ability, it shouldn't be to the point where she barely survived. What exactly are you looking for? He asked subconsciously. Shun Jing looked up just as she was about to answer. Shun Ing beside her spoke first. It's me. Huh? The two of them faltered, but Shun Ing continued. The person she's looking for is me. More accurately, it was to awaken her consciousness. It was also at that time that her consciousness was awakened, and then she was born in that plane. Older sister, I'm your trial? Shenjing looked at her with some surprise. That was all before you were born. How do you know? I guessed. Not bad. At least you have some self-awareness of being a burden. Shenjing glared at her, then continued. Back then, our plane was often attacked by other planes. Part of the reason was because I was about to become a monitor. At first, it was just ordinary invaders. Later on, invading managers appeared. And Mi Lu also appeared because of this reason. He helped you deal with the invaders? No. Shen Jing's expression darkened, looking like she had eaten **T. She gritted her teeth and said, he brought even more invaders. I Ching, Lone Moon, Shening, what the hell? Didn't they say that monitors were in charge of harmony? Was Mi Lu a jinx? Underscore. Chapter 602. Mi Lu was seriously injured then. Behind him was a bunch of things chasing after him. Shen Jing seemed to have recalled some **head up past events, looking like she wanted to return to chaos and beat someone up again. After discovering that I had the qualifications to become a monitor, he stayed and wanted to train me to help him get back at me, although it wasn't of much use. Just now she was praising him for being strong. Now she was stepping on him. What was going on? If not for the fact that he could help me train Little Ling, why would I have kept him? In the end, he even freaking helped her raise him crooked. What kind of stupid training plan did he come up with? None of them were useful. She turned to look at Shuning, her eyes instantly filled with sadness, thinking about how cute her littling was back then. Yet now, this must be Mi Li's fault, definitely. Shuning felt goosebumps from being stared at. She shifted to the side uncomfortably, almost shouting out loud out of habit. I was wrong. Sigh. She sighed and looked away in disappointment. No matter what, you didn't trigger the trial, so you shouldn't be a monitor. It's just that your powers are indeed strange. Sister Shun, didn't you say that everyone's trial is different? Lone Moon could not help but ask. Perhaps Shenying's trial was not at the end of the void. Even if she didn't trigger the trial, it doesn't mean that she's not a monitor, right? And didn't you say before that she's an existence that surpasses managers? Monitors indeed surpass managers, but their powers are also limited. Shun Jing said word by word. Who do you think I used as the basis for comparison when I gave her the test data back then? His eyes widened. It couldn't be. Of course it was me. Shun Jing said naturally. I said she's not a monitor, not because she's not qualified, but because even a monitor can't estimate her data. That's why she's definitely not a monitor. Then what is she? Lone Moon was stunned. Shun Jing turned around. For a moment, everyone's gaze was fixed on a certain person who had already started to quietly nibble on a pastry. This, I want to know too. Shun Ying. She was just eating a piece of green bean cake. Was there a need to stare at her like that? She felt goosebumps all over her body. She then quietly stuffed the pastry into the spiritual seed's hand and pretended that she had not eaten it. The child was stunned. He stared blankly at the pastry in his hand and immediately smiled brightly at her. All right, I have to go back. Shen Jing stood up directly and glanced at Shening. She reached out and poked her head. Can you be more promising in the future? Ask me directly if you have any problems. Do you have to look for me, that sissy? She was already crooked. What would happen if she continued to be crooked? It's my fault. She muttered a few more words before turning around to open the plane gate. Sister Jing, take care. Lone Moon could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He was just about to rejoice that the great Demon King was finally leaving. They had dodged another calamity. At least they did not. Senior, please wait. Chef suddenly spoke up. Lone Moon almost fell over. Chef, what are you doing? Do you want to die? Don't you know it's easier to invite a god and then to send him away? Chef ignored him. He took a step forward and said loudly with cupped fists in a serious manner, Senior. No, Sister Jing. I am I Ching, Master Shenying's disciple. Though I have nothing on me, I am fortunate to have my cooking skills. I can ensure that she does not have to worry about food and clothing. I have been in love with Master for a long time. The world is prosperous, but she is the only one in my heart. In this life, I only wish to grow old with her. With that said, he knelt down and said even more seriously in a loud voice, I want to take Master Shining as my wife. Please grant me my wish, sister. Lone Moon, Shining F *CK. Isn't this the wrong time to propose at the wrong time? Is he looking for a beating? Or a beating? Or a beating? Lone Moon silently lit a candle for Chef and the Divine Realm, which was about to welcome the third wave of violent demolition. Indeed, in the next moment, Shun Jing's face darkened. A faint icy aura swept over her. She directly reached out and picked up the person in front of her. What did you say? Say it again. Which leg do you want to break? Ha! Look at you. Even a cannon fodder beastie has more fans than you. And you still want to marry my sister? Chef ignored her low pressure and still said word by word, I am sincere towards Master. Please grant me my wish, sister. Very good. Shun Jing took a deep breath and directly turned to open the chaos gate. Then break all 3 legs together. With that said, she turned to drag the person in. Sister. Shining panicked and was about to pull the person back. Suddenly, a small figure jumped out from the side. The spirit seed, who had been obediently following beside, suddenly pulled Shun Jing's sleeve and said, Sister, don't bully my second brother. I'll give you some pastries, okay? With that said, he broke half of the pastries he had just received from Shun Ying and handed it over. Mommy gave it to me. What? Shun Jing was stunned and subconsciously took it. But she saw the child turn and run to Lone Moon's side. He handed the remaining half over. Daddy, eat the pastries. Mommy gave it to you. With that said, he smiled happily and pointed in Shun Ying's direction. Shun Jing, wait. What did the child say just now? Mommy? Daddy? Shun Jing looked at the child, and then at Shun Ying and Lone Moon. Indeed, she saw a faint connection between the child and the two of them. Could this child really be her nephew? Then this brat called I Ching was, didn't Little Ling say he was her boyfriend the last time? She turned her head and looked at the person she was holding in her hands. Dozens of melodramatic dramas flashed through her mind. Suddenly, she felt that the person in her hands was glowing green. Instantly, her hands became heavy. Seeing that she did not speak for a long time, I Ching begged again, Please, sister, say no more. Shun Jing suddenly interrupted him and released her grip. I agree to your matter. I'm sincere. I Ching was stunned. Did he hear wrongly just now? I understand. You're a good child. With that said, she patted his shoulder. I Ching, who took the card for no reason. What did she mean? Was she not going to fight anymore? She turned and gave Shun Ying a complicated look. I'll settle the score with you later. She glared at Shun Ying. The next moment, her whole body was filled with icy chi. Instantly, it landed on Lone Moon, who was at the back. Lone Moon felt his whole body go cold. He heard Shun Jing say word by word, As for you, she suddenly retracted her palm. In the next moment, Lone Moon's whole body flew toward her. He was being strangled. Tell me, how do you want to die, you scumbag? Lone Moon, holy shit. What did she mean? Why did she suddenly change people? What has it got to do with me? For all. Chapter 603. Wait, why me? Lone Moon finally reacted just as he was about to be pulled into the chaos. He turned and shouted, Shun Ying, hurry and save him. Huh? Shun Ying faltered. Her conscience made her step forward and grab her big sister. Big sister, actually shut up. Shun Jing's anger was instantly transferred to her. Air. Shun Ying's hand trembled. Ow. All right. What was conscience? She didn't know. Lone Moon's eyes widened. Shun Ying, *CK, your uncle. What did you say? Before Shun Ying could finish, Shun Jing's voice turned cold. Whose uncle are you going to *CK? Lone Moon's entire body stiffened. *CK. He forgot that these two were sisters. No, big sister Jing. I'm not talking about your uncle. I'm talking about her uncle. Pooey. Although your uncle is the same uncle, I'm definitely not talking about the same uncle. Shenjing's expression darkened even more. She replied with 2 words. Heh. The cold aura around her body intensified. She stepped into the chaos gate. I'll let you see my uncle now. Listen to my explanation. Seeing that Father Nyo was about to be dragged in, the spirit seed child suddenly rushed out at the critical moment. He said tearfully, "No. Big sister, you're so pretty. Don't hurt my dad, all right?" Shenjing stopped in her tracks. She turned back to look at the child beside her. Her expression changed several times. Her brows furrowed several times. On account that the other party was his nephew, he forcefully suppressed his anger. Be good. You should call me Big Aunt, not Big Sister. The spirit seed faltered. He looked anxiously at Lone Moon, who was still being dragged. He immediately changed his words. Then, beautiful Big Aunt, can you not hurt my dad? No. This kind of scumbag who only cares about doing things but does not care about responsibility. Then, the spirit seed became even more anxious. His little face turned red. He directly squeezed in front of Lone Moon. He opened his little hands and said tearfully, "Then you can bully me. Don't bully Dad, all right?" Shenjing was stunned, and her eyes softened instantly. She seemed to see the shadow of little Ing in the past, and her heart moved for no reason. What a good child. She sighed and turned to stare daggers at Lone Moon. You scumbag. You don't even want to take responsibility. Even dying 100 times is not enough. I was wrong, Big Boss Jing. Lone Moon apologized reflexively. I shouldn't be so irresponsible. Wait, responsible? What responsibility? You still have a cheek to ask. Shenjing pointed at the spiritual seed and said, The child is already so big. Don't you have any shame? Child? It was only then that Lone Moon realized what was going on. He glanced at the spirit seed. His rationality, which had been beaten into submission, suddenly came back to him. He suddenly understood something. Holy shit, you can't be thinking that he was born from me and Shening, right? Why? You don't even want to acknowledge the child anymore. Shenjing's hand tightened. You actually want your brother to be the one to take over. Who do you think my littling is for you to pick and choose? What do you mean by take over? That's not right. Who said I wouldn't admit? Damn it. He's not my child. No. The more Lone Moon spoke, the more confused he became. Seeing that Shenjing was already beginning to form a knife, he then said loudly, This child is a spirit seed. We brought him back from the Void Land. Spirit seed? Shenjing faltered. She took a closer look at the child. Indeed, she saw some original source chi around him, but it was extremely weak. She then looked up at Shening, her expression even more shocked. The two of you gave birth to a spirit seed? Lone Moon, Shining, the corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. What kind of godly level of understanding was this? You damn siscon, don't let your imagination run wild when it comes to Shening. In the end, Shenjing still did not drag Father Nyo into the chaotic space to beat him up. Lone Moon told her everything about the Void Land, including the matter about me, Lu asking them to find the spirit seed. You're saying that this child is a spirit seed from me, Lu Plain? Shenjing glanced at the child suspiciously. Her eyes narrowed. Yes. Lone Moon nodded hard. Mila used him as an excuse to make us go to the Void Land. That's impossible. Shenjing frowned. It's true, Boss Jing. She had her eyes on him and had to beat him up no matter what. Shenjing gave him a disdainful look before continuing. What I mean is, Milu is not a plane assistant at all. He's different from me. He wasn't a manager from the start. That's why he doesn't have a so-called plane that he belongs to. Naturally, he can't produce a spirit seed. What? This time, not only Lone Moon, even Shening and Chef were stunned. Back then, in order to get him to help me train Little Ing, he pretended to be an assistant who lost the manager plane. Shenjing sighed and continued. Because of his identity as a monitor, no one suspected this. In reality, he doesn't directly manage any plane. But why did he ask us to find a spirit seed? And he insisted on taking the spirit seed away previously. Shening also suspected him because of this. This child could be a lost spirit seed from another plane. Shenjing glanced at the child before continuing. Spirit seeds can summon a complete plane's original source. As a monitor, Mila wanted to take him away in order not to cause a conflict between planes. Was a spirit seed so powerful? But why did this setting sound so familiar? Then which plane's spirit seed is he from? Lone Moon asked. How would I know? Shun Jing rolled her eyes at him. It's difficult to find the original plane for something lost to the end of the void. But she seemed to have thought of something. She glanced at Lone Moon and Shun Ying with a strange expression, causing the hairs on their backs to stand. Her eyes narrowed before she said with a half-smile, the strange thing is this child actually has an aura that's connected to the two of you? That was why she admitted her mistake just now. Huh. The two of them were stunned at the same time. They exchanged a look and each took 3 steps back. Instantly, they revealed a look of disgust and spoke in unison. Me and him. What a joke. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Isn't spirit seed born from the original source of the plane? It would only be connected to the people of this plane. We only found him, we didn't do anything to him. That's why. I find it strange. Shun Jing's expression darkened. If I remember correctly, Littling, your plane already has a spirit seed, right? I remember what Kai Tian called her. Oh, Mengpa. Then where did this spirit seed come from? So the spirit seed and little Shorty were the same kind of existence? Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. Chef's world already had a spirit seed. Could this child be from his plane? But didn't his plane just open not long ago? How could it be so fast? Wait a minute. Their plane was reopened, which meant that it was very likely that there was a spirit seed before. In addition, the plane was reopened by Shaning, and he was the manager. That was why the spirit seed called them Daddy and Mommy. Holy shit. The 3 of them thought of this at the same time. Their eyes widened. Looks like you know who he is? They knew, but hearing Sister Jing's tone, why did they suddenly have a bad feeling? And Shun Jing continued. Even a hint of a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Pointing to the plane tree not far away, she said, I wanted to ask just now, why did you suddenly have another plane tree here? And both of them have no connection to Littling at all. Oh my God, my disguise is going to fall. Sister Jing, listen to my explanation. 3-inch all right. Shun Jing's eyes narrowed into slits as she smiled. I'll listen to your explanation. The 3 of you, come with me to chaos to explain. Don't even think of escaping. Lone Moon, Shaning, I Ching, he wanted to save them. Why did 2 of them get involved? Chapter 604. Lone Moon confirmed that the child was indeed the spirit seed of the plane he had just taken over. Hongming plane had been destroyed once, and a spirit seed might have indeed been formed then. But because the plane finally collapsed, he accidentally flowed into the end of the void. Originally, when the plane was destroyed, the spirit seed would disappear along with it. But at that time, the God Fiend sealed the original source purple gas in order to save Hong Ming and the others. That was why the spirit seed in the end of the void did not disappear. Later, Shuning reopened the plane, and Lone Moon established the Heavenly Tao to become the new manager. Then the spirit seed awakened and took form. He was originally a spirit formed from the original source. That was why he instinctively felt especially close to Lone Moon, who was the manager. And in theory, he was also his superior. There was nothing wrong with calling him Daddy. And Shuning was the one who opened the plane. It was equivalent to giving him a new life. It was completely reasonable for him to call her Mommy. But it was precisely such a reasonable incident that accidentally exposed the things that the 3 of them had painstakingly hidden. Their disguises were instantly exposed by Shun Jing. The anger that was originally aimed at Father Nyo instantly burned all 3. Everyone had a share. An hour later, 3 people with bruised noses and swollen faces crawled out of the chaos, each holding their swollen pig heads, gasping for air. Lone Moon turned and gave Shunning a look of disdain and resentment. Didn't you say that you were stronger than Xinjing? Why didn't I see you resist at all? You admitted defeat faster than anyone else. Shunning immediately turned and glared back, giving him a similar expression. You speak as if you dare to fight back? Wasn't she used to being a coward? I Ching was the only one who had a strange style. He was clearly the one who looked the worst out of the three, but his first reaction was to support his master with a pained expression. "Master, are you all right?" As he spoke, he activated the little bit of spirit power that he had just recovered and conjured a healing seal, treating the bruises on her face as he asked nervously, "Does it hurt?" Shun Ing replied. "It's fine." The pained expression on his face became even more intense. "You're already injured like this. How can it not hurt? Don't move. I'll treat your injuries." As he spoke, he reached out and pulled her into his arms, conjuring a seal with a nervous expression. The corner of Lonmun's mouth twitched, and he said directly, "Hee, you should be treated. Hurry up and treat it. If you delay any longer, it might be completely healed." "Shuning, Lonmun, you're still showing off your sister's dog food at this time." Although Shuning was the one who suffered the most beatings, she was the one with the least injuries. Due to their physical fitness, Shuning was beaten black and blue by Shun Jing with every punch. Both of them were beaten half to death by Shun Jing's punch. That was why Shun Ying had taken more than 95% of the damage from that beating. It wasn't that she was very loyal, but that Shun Jing seemed to be used to beating her up. Once she started, she couldn't seem to stop. Other than teaching him and Chef a few punches in the beginning, she spent the rest of her time beating Shinning up. Her fists were so smooth. Lone Moon and Chef were in pain watching from the side, but they couldn't get close to him at all. Occasionally, they would be swept by the wind from his fists, and it was enough to make them choke. Just as the few of them were about to say a few words, the Chaos Gate opened once again. Shun Jing, who was a step late, had already returned from the Chaos Gate. In her hand, she was dragging an unknown creature whose original appearance could not be seen clearly. Looking at that tattered clothes, they could faintly piece together what looked like a suit. That's right, it was Mi Luo. It was obvious that when she stayed in the Chaos Gate just now, she went to pick up a corpse. Shun Jing raised her hand and threw it forward. With a thud, an unknown object rolled one round and stopped at the feet of the three of them. Mi Li's face, which was so precious just now, was already swollen like a pig. No, he couldn't even be recognized as a pig. He was swollen like a ball. They didn't know what Shun Jing did. His other injuries were all recovering, but his face was still too horrible to look at. He laid on the ground motionlessly. Only his eyelids could faintly be seen moving slightly. It was obvious that he was playing dead in a cowardly manner, not daring to wake up. The three of them trembled in unison. They straightened their backs and straightened their bodies. Then they knelt down in unison. "Sister Jing, we were wrong." Three admitting defeat was a good quality of being a manager. The three of them understood this special tradition very well. Shun Jing glanced at the three people in front of her with a smile that was not a smile. Her expression turned cold again. With a wave of her hand, a comfortable sofa appeared in front of them, and they sat down. Then she summoned a coffee table and coffee. She took a sip of the coffee elegantly before her eyes landed on Shun Ying. She was going to settle the score after the beating. "Shun Littling, you've grown up. You even dare to lie to me, is that it?" Shun Ying's entire body trembled. Her head drooped like a quail. "Tell me." She narrowed her eyes. "When did you transfer the plane to these two rascals? Do you think you've grown up and I can't control you anymore?" No. Sister." Shun Ying immediately shook her head like a drum. "I can control them. I can control them." Shun Jing's gaze turned even colder. Her voice instantly deepened. "Since you're no longer a manager, why don't you go home? How much longer do you intend to stay here?" "Sister," Shun Ying called out in a dragging tone. "Who's your sister?" The coffee in her hand was placed on the coffee table with a thud. The anger that had just been extinguished suddenly flared up again. "I don't have such a sister who doesn't stay at home. If I didn't come this time, how long were you three brats planning to hide it from me?" "I was wrong." The three of them replied in unison again. "If you know you're wrong, then go back." She glared at her. "Don't think I can't tell. You can sense the existence of monitors. That proves that your body has changed again. Since you're no longer a manager, there's no need for you to stay here. I can only be at ease if you go back with me. No. Shining raised her head and looked straight at her. What? Was your apology just now, just for fun? Her expression turned even colder. It looked like snowflakes were about to float down. But Shuning still shook her head. Sister, now is not the time. Why not? Shenjing stopped mid-sentence. She seemed to have thought of something. She glanced at Chef and Lone Moon. You're doing this for these two little brats? Shen Ying sighed. Her voice softened instantly. Sister, I'll be fine. It doesn't matter which plane I'm in. Who says it doesn't matter? You're about to be seduced by those wild brats outside. Big sister. Seeing that she was about to fly into a rage, Chef tightened his grip on Shun Ying's hand and spoke up in time. You've already agreed to my marriage with Master. Husband and wife should be together, so, big sister, please don't break us apart. Let Master stay here. Lone Moon instantly understood. He immediately added, Yes, Sister Jing. You're a monitor. You're the fairest. You won't go back on your word, will you? Shen Jing's expression darkened completely. For a moment, the temperature in the entire divine realm seemed to have dropped by tens of degrees. Even Mi Lu, who was playing dead on the ground, shivered from the cold. Dao Feng's gaze swept towards Chef as if he was going to cut him into 1,000 pieces. A while later, she retracted the cold aura around her body and suddenly smiled at them, revealing a smile that was like the blooming flowers in spring. The three of them instantly trembled and suddenly had the urge to find a place to hide. They felt even more terrified, didn't they? Their legs went soft. They wanted to kneel. Oh, they were already kneeling. For all _for all. Chapter 605. Shenjing narrowed her eyes and looked straight at Chef before answering. You're right, I did agree. But, she suddenly stood up. I only have this one sister. I can't bear for her to marry far away. If you want to marry her, that's fine, but marry over yourself. With that said, she opened the plane gate. Lone Moon, Shun, not only did she fail to keep her lover, she even lost one. Huh? Wait, Chef, what are you doing? Lone Moon grabbed hold of the restless person. Do you really want to marry yourself over? I Ching looked at Father Nyo, then glanced at Shun Ying at the side, blushing. If it's Master, I can do it. You can do it. Have you freaking forgotten that their goal is to keep Shining? It's not a matter of you marrying or she marrying. Shining obviously doesn't want to go back. You're a useless teammate who's dragging them down. Due to Chef's sudden betrayal, the situation took a turn for the worse. Shenjing was stubborn, seeing that Shuning was about to be brought back, and even had to bring along two burdens. In the end, there was no other way. Under Father Nyo's crazy hints, Shuning could only throw away her moral integrity and return to her old profession, using the great shameless art of acting cute. In order to achieve better results, Lone Moon even helped to use a sorcery, temporarily making Shun Ying return to her 3-year-old appearance. In the next moment, Shun Jing directly compromised. Straight face. It's not that you can't not go back with me. After hugging, rubbing, and rubbing the dumpling version of Shun Ying crazily, Shun Jing finally regained her rationality, sighed and said, But if anything happens in the future, you'd better tell me honestly. If I find out that you're hiding things from me again, don't expect me to let you off easily. Lone Moon and I Ching. Yes, Great King. No problem, Great King. Miniature version of Shun Meng. Big sister is the best. Shinjing glared at the other two and reached out to poke Shun Ying's forehead out of habit. Just as she was about to poke Shin Ying's forehead, she stopped and hugged Shun Ying instead. She nuzzled Shin Ying's little face again and only let go after a long while. She lowered her head and looked at Shin Ying for a long while before sighing and saying, Forget it. The two of them are still your assistants. You're afraid that your strength will increase and affect them, so you want to stay here and not leave. I can understand that. You've grown up. I really shouldn't control you anymore. Big sister? Shining paused and looked up at her. But littling, she rubbed her little head and continued. Don't forget that I'm your biological sister. No matter what happens, this will never change. So don't make me worry, little brat. Yes, She nodded heavily. Shenjing's eyes dimmed, and she sighed again. She gave instructions on a bunch of broken locks until the plane alarm sounded. Only then did she have no choice but to open the door and drag Mi Lu, who didn't dare to wake up, back. Almost at the instant she disappeared into the plane door, the three of them heaved a sigh of relief. Shuning also changed back to her original state, and the three of them fell together, lying on the ground like corpses. It was too scary, even scarier than dealing with 10 invaders. Shuning wiped the fine sweat on her forehead and raised her hand to open a passage out of habit. There was a faint aura of that plane. Holy shit, what are you doing? Lonmun's heart trembled, and he immediately pressed her hand. Why are you opening the door to that plane again? Didn't Big Sister Jing just leave? Shuning subconsciously replied, to Insect Planet. She stopped mid-sentence and paused, then said with a face full of regret, Oh, I got too used to being beaten up by my big sister just now. I forgot that there are no bugs in this plane to relieve stress. Lonmun, I Ching. So after you're beaten up by Shan Jing previously, you turn around and beat up the insect race to vent your anger? What kind of enmity did you have with them? No wonder the insect queen wanted to escape to the end of the void. Master, what do we do next? Chef sat up and looked at Shuning. Before Shuning answered, Lonmun at the side spoke first. What else can we do? Let's fix the divine realm first. He pointed to the divine realm beside him, which was already in ruins. It was either missing a piece of land here or a piece of sky there. Although, when Shun Jing attacked just now, she dragged them into the chaos before beating them up. It was not too far away from here. Even if it was just the remnant power, after a few rounds of continuous beating, the divine realm was also on the verge of collapse. Lonmun sighed and then stood up. He looked at the two of them and said, Chef, you fix the divine realm. I'll send the spirit seed back to Hongmeng first. With that said, he directly carried the child who had already fallen asleep on the sofa since they were brought into the chaos to be beaten up. The spirit seed had been away from the plane for too long. It had already just formed a human form. In addition, the original source in its body had also been sucked by demon beasts. It was already very weak. It was already not easy for it to last until now, before falling into a deep sleep. They had to send it back to the original source purple gas as soon as possible. He believed that fellow Hongmeng would be very happy to take care of it. As for Shuning, you just stay here obediently. Oh. Shuning nodded and directly lay back down, continuing to laze around with a peace of mind. Lonmun gave her a look of disdain before carrying the spirit seed and opening the passage to Purple Night Palace to find Hongmeng to hand it over. Chef also began to repair the damaged divine realm like a hard-working little honey. He did not forget to place a few plates of snacks, a pot of tea, and a few comfortable pillows where Shuning was lying. Although the divine realm was big, it was also a special space that Shuning opened up on the basis of the Godfiend. Although it was already mostly collapsed, it was not difficult for Chef to repair. So in less than the time of a plate of pastries and half a fruit, the divine realm had already been restored to the appearance of a large green field before. The two plane trees were also still firmly growing in the middle, leaning against each other. Chef glanced at the plane trees, as if thinking of something. He frowned and immediately turned his head away, walking towards Shun Ying's direction. Master! A hint of hesitation flashed across his face, but a hint of red appeared on his face as if he could not suppress it. Do you think Shun Qian? No. Big Sister has agreed to our marriage? The fruit in Shun Ying's hand paused. She looked up at Chef, who had a serious expression. Half and half. What did she mean, half and half? She thought for a moment before explaining in a low voice. It means that agreeing is one thing. If you really want to get married, you have to let her beat you up again, this time the kind of beating you to death. I Ching. Why did he suddenly feel that he was so weak? He was just about to ask a few more questions when Lonmun had already returned, but he did not return alone. Beside him was Sister Pear, whom he had never been on good terms with. She looked anxious, and there was another person leaning on her shoulder. That person was covered in blood and was on the verge of death. and they could faintly feel the aura of another plane manager on him. The two of them were stunned. Who is this? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.